Hey, you viewers and viewresses, my name is John Red Strategist and welcome back to another episode of Rayman, the 30th Anniversary Edition. So, last time we beat the original Rayman, the PS1 version and all that, so I've officially played it for the first time in my life, the first Rayman game, and good God, it was tough, but we got there, and it was good to play it, and just that way, I've always been calling myself a Rayman fan over the years, and now I can say, yeah, I have played the original as well. But we're not done with the series because there's more to actually look at. So, of course, we looked at that. But what we want to look at now is this prototype that apparently Ubisoft was working on for the SNES back in 1992. So, apparently, this was never released back in the day. So, I'm very curious to see what this is like. I've seen screenshots of it. It looks kind of weird. So, let's go. Save slot 1 as always. Oh, we're straight in, are we? Oh my goodness. Rayman looks very different to how I thought he would be. Oh, whoa. Thought I was going in the pipe for a moment. Then, oh my god, you see when he jumps? Or rather, when he jumped into the pipe there, the way his body expands. Is there actual sound here? Doesn't seem to be. Oh, what the? I'm holding down the attack button and he's doing a weird animation. Well, that's very fucking weird. So obviously you can tell it's got a bit of a border on it because it's very, small screen and all that. Would have been what it was originally designed for. This is really weird though. This looks like a fusion of kind of like a weird alien planet with machinery. Oh, this is so strange. I mean, I definitely prefer the actual Rayman design to this one that's in here, but this is so strange. So, is this all there is to it? Is there no actual sound or anything? Do I have to go up here? Guess I do. Up into the pipe. Oh, Jesus. That took me through very fast, didn't it? I like the vibe of it, though. Imagine if this is what we got for the original Rayman. Ooh. Okay, I was worried for a second there that I was falling into goop, and so I'd end up dying. So is this it? Do you just wander through the level? Is there no actual real platforming or enemies or anything like that? Okay. There's like a strange room. Oh, wait. Oh, that's interesting. When I hold down the attack key, he walks a bit faster. But he also sort of is charging his fist up when I do that. Oh god, I just pressed the wrong button. Did not mean to do that. Okay, that's a bit of an annoyance. So how does the attack work? That's the question. That's bizarre. So do I... Is there a way to fire here? Doesn't look like it, does it? Okay, you see, I was expecting there'd be more, but unless I'm missing something here, I don't know. Because there's definitely no way to attack, is there? I don't know what the purpose of making Rayman look like he's walking faster does. Right, I definitely can't go back up there. So if there is a way on here, I'm missing what it is. This is weird. Like I say, I guess there genuinely is no sound to it. Very peculiar. So how does one... Because look, he's like charging... Oh, wait. Hold on. Do I just have to hold it down until he eventually does something? Oh. Oh, what? Hang on. You see, if I just hold down the button, eventually it goes to that charge state. And then if I release the button, he still keeps doing it. Do I just have to leave him and let him do his thing? Like, what's he going to do? I'm pressing the fire button again, but nothing happens. If I move, he'll stop charging. Oh. Yeah, I just did that. Strange. So what's that all about? Do I have to be in here for it to work? Do I have to smash my way out or something? Or is this literally the end of the level? Is this all it is? Okay, well, like I say, I thought there was going to be more to this, but I assume that's everything. So I can't glide, there's no helicopter either. I can't crouch, can't do any of that if I'm pressing any of the other keys from the main game. Rayman just sort of does that weird animation where he seems to be doing something with his mouth and his hand. Can't quite tell. It's weird seeing Rayman with such a bulbous body. It doesn't feel right. Okay, well, is that it? Is that it for the prototype then? Is that all it is? I mean, if that's all it is, we can then go on to maybe having a look at the history section from the main menu. That might be worth taking a look at and all that. Okay, well, I don't see anything else to do here. I might just take a quick jump cut, though, and just go and check online, because I'm sure other people have done playthroughs of this prototype now. Oh, wait, what's he doing in the background? Wait, what is he doing? Did he just put down a boombox? Hang on, wait. Does he have a weird idle animation? Hold on, we got to see this. Like I say, I think what we'll do is we'll take a jump cut in a moment. Oh yeah, he has like a little boombox. Well, it was the 90s when they were producing this. But yeah, like I say, okay, what I'll probably do then, I'll take a jump cut here. I'll just check on other people's videos. Is there more to this prototype? Am I missing something? Because if this is it, if this is as far as it goes, then that's all it is. In which case we'll go to the history bit, which means that this might end up becoming quite a long episode. Alright, let's take a jump cut, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, right, we're back in. I mean, I looked at a couple of videos on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure that is it for the prototype. It literally is only a few seconds long, which makes sense. I mean, it is only a prototype and all that. It was probably just made as like a proof of concept back in the day, when Ubisoft were thinking, oh, can we make a game for the SNES that's a platformer? And Michel Ancel was probably sort of like, oh, here's my character. He's called Rayman or whatever. But without further ado, we're going to go on to the history, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I was originally anticipating that, the SNES prototype maybe will be a bit longer, and therefore I'd probably do this another episode, but we can make it one episode if we want to. So let's have a look. No arms, no legs, no problem. The Rayman story. Peter Play Games, or... oh god. Well, this is interesting. The birth of Rayman. From the mind of a young aspiring animator came one of the most impactful new game characters of the CD-ROM era. This is the story of how Rayman came to be. What happens if I press P? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. That basically just takes you to the game screen. Actually, something we can do with this series, even after I've done this, is actually keep this going as a bonus series where I play some of the MS-DOS level packs. Rayman, are you talking to me? Also, I noticed he was doing that tongue-out waggling thing, which is interesting, because apparently that was a move you can do, which I had no idea was a thing in the actual main game. Okay, Michel Ancel. Born in Monaco in 1972, the young Michel Ancel moved around the world with his family as his father's military post changed. He didn't play a video game console until an encounter with an Atari 2600 at a friend's house in Tunisia on the North African coast in 1983. Arcades and Atari, 1986, moving across the Mediterranean Sea to Montpellier, France, with his family, the 13-year-old Michel was suddenly exposed to a thriving game culture of arcades, consoles and computers. At school, he began learning to program 8-bit computers like the Atari 800. Atari ST, 1987. Eventually, Michel's parents brought him a state-of-the-art Atari ST computer, a 16-bit machine that could produce arcade-quality graphics. For Michel, who loved drawing, this was the perfect opportunity to bring his creations to life on screen. Okay, I mean, that is a pretty damn old computer, look at that. See, this is 1987. This is technically before I was born, so I was but a tiny... No, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say I was but a tiny sperm. Well, what's this? Mechanic Warriors, 1988. At 16 years old, Michel teamed up with programmer Nicolas Chacrun, probably butchered that pronunciation, who had recently released his debut game, Killdozers, through a French software house called Lancourt. The two began work on an action strategy game called Mechanic Warriors. Apparently there's 3 images if I press enter. Okay, right. Ooh. Transporteur, défenseurs, mobile et fixe, espion, réparateur, combattant, and an informateur. Okay, so what kind of game was this meant to be? I mean, I like these concept arts. Very sci-fi. Some sort of mecha game or something. So it apparently was an action strategy game. Interesting. I guess maybe you control a vehicle and you fight enemies. Something like that. Ubisoft, 1989. At this time, Michel submitted a demonstration of his work to the French publisher Ubisoft, today spelled Ubisoft, which was looking for game submissions. Then Intruder, also 1989. While Mechanic Warriors was never completed, Michel and Nicolas were able to release The Intruder. a less technically ambitious scrolling shooter game with a similar futuristic mechanical aesthetic via Ubisoft in 1989. 3 more images. Oh, well, you can definitely see they may be reused certain assets here, which makes sense, you know. If you have assets from a failed project that didn't go anywhere, you can always reuse them again later for something else. Let me drink more of my tea. Pick and Pile, 1990. Michel and Nicholas continued their artist programmer partnership with Pick and Pile, a puzzle game in which players match symbols to clear the board. Released in 1989 by Ubisoft. I've never heard of it, but we got a couple of images. Oh. Okay. Interesting. I mean, it's giving me very early 90s shareware vibes. That's what it's giving me. I wonder if that was originally going to be the marketing model for it. Release it, like a shareware demo, and then people could buy the full thing or something. The Teller, 1990. The same year, Ubisoft released The Teller, also known as Brain Blasters, a puzzle game in which the player has to memorise and recreate a pattern of blocks. This is the first published game created entirely by Michel Ancel. 3 more images. Oh, again, do you remember? No, I don't remember it. I wasn't even born. Yeah, again, this has shareware vibes, looking at it. I would not be surprised if that was the way it was going to be sold. So, Brief Employment, 1991. While living with his wife and children in Montpellier, Michel accepted a job as a graphic artist for Ubisoft, but he was dissatisfied with the work since the Paris office was so far from his home and wanted to go back to making his own games. A Chance Reunion, 1991. Around this time, Michel reconnected with a friend from his high school days, Frédéric Houd. Houd? Don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. The two had bonded over their mutual love of computer programming in Montpellier and now met again in Paris. Is this a video? Oh god, I think it is. This is so clever.
Frédéric Houd, je suis auteur de Rayman. Mon rôle sur Rayman 1, c'était tout ce qui était programmation moteur, tout ce qui était programmation outils. J'étais le seul technicien en fait sur le projet. Il y avait Michel qui s'occupait de tout ce qui était artistique, graphique, et moi, toute la partie technique des consoles et donc toute la programmation du moteur. Mon parcours de joueur, il a commencé quand j'étais au collège, où on allait jouer dans les supermarchés parce que c'était un bon terrain de jeu pour nous. Je me rappelle même avoir mis de l'argent et être rentré dans des bars alors qu'il n'y avait que des gens qui buvaient de l'alcool. Il ne faut pas rentrer dans un truc comme ça, mais moi, il fallait que je rentre et que je joue. L'autre fait très important, c'est quand mon cousin a eu à Noël un ordinateur personnel, où là, vraiment, ça a changé mon mindset, où j'étais plutôt en mode joueur. Et là, d'un seul coup, je me suis dit, mais là, avec ce micro-ordinateur-là, je peux créer des choses, je peux fabriquer mes univers, je peux programmer et mettre l'objet graphique que je veux, le bouger à la manette, interagir avec. Et pour moi, c'était vraiment le gros point de départ en fait, de ma passion. En fait, je vais être capable de créer des mondes et des univers que j'imagine. Et c'était mon outil à moi, où j'avais pas besoin de gros matériel, j'avais besoin juste de ça. Et je pouvais fabriquer ce que je voulais, et mes mondes et mes interactions. Et je me rappelle, j'appelais ma mère, je disais regarde ça, écoute cette musique. C'était infâme. À l'époque, elle était complètement déconnectée de ça et elle regardait.
Frédéric avait une connaissance très élevée de tout ce qui était gameplay et bien sûr une connaissance très importante de tous les jeux japonais et de la concurrence, mais une vraie habitude de structurer les choses pour les rendre.
You're probably competing with the likes of Nintendo and early Sega at this time.
Notre rencontre, je pense que ça s'est fait à Informatique 2000. Un magasin sur Montpellier où on se retrouvait, pas Michel et moi spécialement, mais on allait voir les nouveautés des jeux et on allait montrer un peu ce qu'on faisait sur des Atari ST ou des Amiga. Et après, on s'est retrouvés dans les locaux d'Ubisoft où Michel travaillait sur un projet de voiture en interne
tout à fait.
qui t'emballait pas spécialement. Et du coup, en parallèle, il préparait la revanche.
cette petite boutique vraiment microscopique d'informatique où le gars était assez cool puisqu'il nous laissait venir et utiliser les ordinateurs. C'est vraiment marrant de se dire que plein de personnes sont devenues développeurs, en fait de cette époque-là sont devenus développeurs. Certains travaillaient même après chez
LucasArts, okay.
Enfin, c'est fou quoi, de se dire que
Sorry, I'm not
les
saying
personnes qui
much,
se
but
retrouvaient là vraiment et c'était des passionnés avec parfois des
just don't want to
commandes
talk
de jeux
over
qui
him, that's
venaient,
all.
MSX du Japon, ou qui étaient des gens qui étaient déjà en contact avec des développeurs du Japon. Et du coup, ce qui est drôle, c'est que moi, ils étaient plus âgés que moi, ils avaient, je crois, 18-19 ans. Eux, ils étaient déjà en BTS ou IUT. Moi, j'étais encore en seconde. Et ça me faisait rêver de savoir que là, il y avait des gens qui faisaient des jeux vidéo.
Wow, okay. I didn't realize there were going to be full-on developer interview videos, but I'm all here for it. What have we got? Frederick Hood. Oh, it's the it's the embarrassing teenage pig again. Frederick had also grown up learning to create games with computers, though he was more of a fan of the Amiga. He had landed a job with Ubisoft where he was creating a shooter for the Mega Drive or Sega Genesis called Zodiac. Yeah, I mentioned obviously like Nintendo and Sega a moment ago because 1980s. I think Nintendo was very much just had a stranglehold over a lot of the video game industry at that time. Sega then obviously came along and sort of stole a lot of their market share away from them. But yeah, I guess it gives you a sense of the kind of market that Ubisoft was trying to compete in at this time. Go on, let's look at the embarrassing teenage pick of Frederick Hood. There's Zodiac. Yeah, like this Zodiac one, I've never heard of it, but looks kind of cool. Game over. I wonder what the story of that one is then. A little character. Michel showed Frederick something he'd been working on in his spare time. He'd been using 3D modelling software on his Atari ST to create an original character called Rayman, 1992. Is this another video? Yes, it is.
Alors Rayman, c'est vraiment lui et moi au début. Je découvrais la 3D, donc j'ai commencé à manipuler des logiciels de 3D. Ça a été mon personnage un peu fétiche, quoi, ce qui m'a permis de me faire la main sur des softs 3D. Mais c'était pas très interactif, la 3D à l'époque, donc je l'ai passé en deux dimensions. Et c'est là que j'ai pu interagir avec lui. C'était drôle parce que c'était vraiment cette idée d'éléments séparés qui, en bougeant séparément, donnent l'illusion du mouvement. Et ce qui est marrant, c'est de se dire, quand ce personnage il est apparu, il était cool en fait. Je l'ai pas dessiné avant.
Is that why he's
il est apparu,
limbless?
Juste dans le fait de le faire en pixels.
Because it was easier to
ça a fait découler tout
do
le
the
reste.
movement.
J'avais besoin aussi de choses joyeuses. Je travaillais sur des jeux un peu sérieux. J'avais envie de m'évader un peu et de continuer à avoir ce côté enfantin, frais, qui me permettait de me sortir un peu d'une réalité un peu plus dure.
Nous, on imaginait ce petit personnage dans différents lieux. C'était vraiment ce qui nous habitait à l'époque, de passer d'un univers à un autre très riche et très différent. Un peu comme tous les jeux d'arcade qu'on voyait à l'époque. On voyait le niveau de la neige, le niveau du volcan, le niveau dans les airs, etc. Et donc c'était des trucs très tranchés. Et donc quand on s'est rencontrés, on était vraiment fans de nature, de tout ce qui était les arbres, la vie, etc. Le premier niveau dans lequel on rentre, vraiment ce qui nous parlait le plus graphiquement.
I love concept arts of video games.
Et du coup, on a présenté cette Bible aux frères Guillemot.
God, that old Rayman
Ils étaient
model.
vraiment emballés, je me rappelle à l'époque. Donc on présentait le projet pour qu'il se fasse sur Super Nintendo CD-ROM. Et ils nous ont dit, non mais là c'est le plus gros jeu du monde. Je me rappelle très bien, je crois que c'est Yves Guillemot qui avait dit ça.
Je me souviens de cette première visite de Michel et Frédéric, où ils sont venus nous présenter le concept. J'ai été ébloui par cette créativité et aussi ce personnage, son aisance, son animation.
He's got very fluid
très
movements.
riche et coloré, avec
In Rayman
les différents mondes qu'ils avaient prévus et le loufoque de beaucoup des personnages qui étaient présentés. C'était vraiment un jeu qui détonnait complètement par rapport à ce qui existait à l'époque.
Et on a travaillé ce fameux document en fait pour que le projet puisse prendre corps. L'idée c'était de donner de la vision en fait.
Level designs.
Au-delà des petites démos qu'on avait fait, il fallait montrer qu'on allait faire un jeu complet. C'était à la fois fun mais à la fois difficile parce je pense avec Fred, on aime programmer et jouer directement. Et là il fallait se mettre sur un papier, réfléchir à l'avance et dessiner les niveaux, les personnages. Donc c'est un autre exercice qui est plus on va dire théorique, mais qui était structurant surtout pour la suite, puisque ça on ne le savait pas encore, mais au début on pensait qu'on allait faire le jeu à 2 ou à 3, Et ce document nous servait un peu de porte d'entrée, de sésame pour pouvoir obtenir finalement le financement du projet. Mais il a servi par la suite de base, en fait, de référence pour faire un travail collectif jusqu'à 100 personnes finalement.
On a mis quand même très longtemps ensemble à créer le jeu, parce que c'était un jeu déjà d'une ambition extrêmement importante, avec vraiment une structure forte pour être capable de réaliser autant de niveaux, autant de choses à l'intérieur d'un jeu.
Yes, I see what he
La
means.
taille de ce jeu est très importante à l'époque.
True, it was
Et
huge
il
for
faut
the
la
time.
comparer à tous les jeux de plateforme qui étaient faits au Japon, qui
gotta
étaient
remember.
des monstres de
Physical
de
media back
créativité,
then.
et qui avaient bien sûr
They wouldn't have had much
le
disk
marché
space.
à 90% à cette époque.
Du coup, on est parti sur un jeu de plateforme parce qu'on avait beaucoup de jeux de plateforme comme jeux référents dans les arcades qu'on voyait.
C'est vrai que la vue de côté, c'était, pour revenir sur Another World d'Eric
Ah.
Satie, Prince of Persia ou Karateka sur Apple,
Another
c'était
World.
vraiment ce qu'il y avait de plus,
Original Prince of
plus
Persia,
efficace
of course.
pour montrer de belles choses.
Après, il n'y avait pas de jeu 3D à l'époque, donc il n'y avait pas beaucoup de choix. Et on avait un personnage vu de côté que Michel avait créé. J'ai l'impression qu'il n'y avait que le side-scroll qui pouvait fonctionner. Je pense qu'il y avait même... Nous, on ne s'est jamais dit ça peut être dans un autre format, tellement ça coulait de source, en fait.
Oui. Après, c'est vrai qu'il y avait d'autres types de jeux, mais on était branchés, je pense, action-aventure, c'était vraiment notre type de jeu, quoi.
Interesting. Yeah. So, like, that was fascinating. Obviously, he was talking there about structure when you have all these levels and having to sort of plan ahead in the design of them, which I think makes a lot of sense, you know? Because I think sometimes people maybe think that with game design, it's just a matter of make a bunch of levels and throw them in. But you got to sort of, with a game like this, where you have different power-ups and things like that, you have to think about how you structure it in terms of when you introduce certain power-ups and thus what kind of move sets you can do with each power-up, and then you design the levels accordingly. So that with each level, he gets another power-up and you can do new things, and that way that keeps the player engaged, kind of. That makes sense to people. Teaming up 1992 with Zodiac finished, although it was never released, Frederick decided to team up with Michel, who left his job at Ubisoft. The two went back to Montpellier to begin work on Rayman as a freelance project. Interesting. So it was supposed to be a freelance project at first, was it?
Alors cette Bible, c'était un travail à distance. Lui, il avait du coup quitté Ubisoft en tant que salarié et il travaillait à distance à Montpellier. Moi, j'avais fini mon service militaire à Paris et donc je travaillais à Paris. Un coup, je descendais, un coup, lui montait et on se retrouvait dans des petits appartements, des studios de 20 mètres carrés. Et on travaillait justement sur cette Bible avec ce personnage qui était envoyé dans un ordinateur. Alors ça, c'est des choses qui n'ont pas été remises dans le jeu final, mais dans la Bible, il y a ça.
So that's what the
Effectivement,
story was
c'était,
going to be of the
le côté,
prototype, was it?
Un peu qu'on peut retrouver dans l'univers de Tron, par exemple, ou dans lequel on a ce côté développeur qui rentre dans la machine. Donc moi, j'avais trouvé ça chouette parce que je me disais, mais en fait, l'ordinateur lui-même, c'est un univers. Il y a la carte graphique, il y a le processeur sonore, il y a le processeur principal. Donc on retrouve, en fait, c'est comme une espèce de collaboration de ces différents éléments, comme un corps, finalement, comme une entité vivante. Et je trouvais ça intéressant de se dire, mais en fait, on pourrait finalement évoluer dans ce type d'univers-là et résoudre un problème du monde réel dans ce monde-là. Et donc, voilà, l'idée, c'est assez classique, c'est qu'il y a une sorte de virus
That's fascinating.
qui s'est intégré, voilà,
So
c'était
this
le
is
début
what
du
the
virus,
story was going to
plein, nous,
be.
sur nos Amiga, nos Atari. On vivait concrètement ce que c'était le début, en fait, de ce, entre guillemets, de ce fléau, quoi, puisqu'on peut se retrouver avec des machines qui fonctionnaient plus, des disquettes qui étaient effacées. Parfois, c'était la panique, quoi. Donc, il y avait une vraie... il y avait, dans le monde réel, en tout cas, il y avait cette peur voilà, le bug de l'an 2000, les virus, etc. C'était un terreau intéressant pour faire une espèce de contre-pied entre la technologie et l'art. Et finalement, même si on est dans un ordinateur, c'est quand même un monde onirique. Et donc, quand on va être dans le monde de la carte graphique, de l'aspect graphique de l'ordinateur, on est dans le monde du dessin. Et donc, il y a ce fameux monde dans Rayman 1 dans lequel on se retrouve avec des pinceaux, des couleurs.
Okay.
Ce type de
This is the
monde-là.
Genesis of
Je pense
Picture
qu'après,
City.
quand on a commencé à faire le projet, on s'est dit, on peut peut-être simplifier certaines parties. Et donc, on a un peu enlevé cette méta-histoire.
Et du coup, après, j'ai fait plein d'outils aussi pour Michel, pour créer des maps, tous les levels, et aussi tout ce qui est animation de personnages. c'était un des points forts du projet, être capable d'animer un personnage à 30 images secondes, alors que tous les jeux se faisaient avec
No
des
wonder it
animes à
feels
10
so
images secondes, parce que
smooth,
l'autre option, quand on
fluid,
passe
the
des
animation.
modules et des éléments détachés, c'est de faire plein d'images en fait. Et plein d'images, ça veut dire prendre plein de mémoire. Et du coup, on fait 10 images pour faire une marche, et d'un seul coup, on n'a plus rien pour faire un saut. Alors que là, on faisait des petits sprites pour les pieds, des petits sprites pour le corps, et on faisait juste 3 positions, et on était capable de faire des animes très variés et très fluides, contrairement à la concurrence. Donc c'était vraiment un gros plus d'avoir ce personnage tout en module.
Et donc à la base, Rayman, c'était Ray Traceman.
Ray Traceman.
C'était le côté, voilà, moi je suis un personnage d'ordinateur, quoi. Je suis issu de cette technologie. Et donc c'est l'idée du lancer de rayon. Donc après j'ai compacté en Rayman. Et après, dans la réécriture du scénario, quand on regarde, la fée lui transmet le pouvoir par un rayon en fait, de lumière. Avec sa main, elle communique en fait, le pouvoir. Elle a un cercle dans la main et le cercle se retrouve sur lui. C'est un point d'échange lumineux en quelque sorte. Et donc c'est comme ça qu'il obtient ses pouvoirs.
That's fascinating. Okay, so that tells us what the story of the prototype was going to be. So it's a guy sucked into a computer world. Because I commented when I was playing that prototype a moment ago that it did feel like a weird sort of blend of an alien living world with a machine world. That's so incredible. And on top of that, yeah, so it's interesting to learn that apparently his name was going to be Ray Traceman, in line with that computer world story. But yeah, I definitely think I'm getting a sense of the whole reason why Rayman has no limbs was because they wanted a very simple character who'd be easy to animate in a way that looks very fluid. So he's modular, as they said there. So that's interesting because that's an example of, I think, of the limitations of the tools available to the artist, basically helping them actually be more creative. Really fascinating, that. And so they just kept the limbless design over the years, I guess. Right, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, 1992. While personal computers had dominated the European gaming scene in the 80s, 16-bit game consoles, shut up Rayman, I'm talking, like the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, which had just been officially released in Europe, were rapidly gaining in popularity at the dawn of the 90s. So have our pictures, or a picture rather, of the old Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Never had one of these as a kid, but I'm sure probably a lot of my fellow kids in the 90s probably did have, SNESs and all that. SNES CD-ROM 1992. Before it launched the SNES, Nintendo said that it would soon add CD-ROM capability to the system, with an optional accessory to be released in January 93. Rayman the SNES demonstration, 92. With an eye towards releasing the game on the upcoming SNES CD-ROM, Michel and Frederic put together a simple demo version to show Ubisoft. In 2017, Frederic Oud found the playable demo again. Now you can play it for yourself. And yeah, there's obviously our picture of it, which we saw when we were playing it a moment ago. So that was basically lost for quite a while. It was just squirreled away on a disc somewhere by the sound of it. Oh my god, 85 images of the Game Design Bible. Oh, here we go. 93. To pitch their full game concept to Ubisoft, Michel and Frederic put together a paper Game Design Bible with sketches and text that gave a full overview of the proposed characters, gameplay and levels. The final game would change dramatically from this proposal. Now you can read the entire thing. Well, you know what we're going to do. We're going to read the entire fucking thing. All 85 pages of it, of course. Author notes, Rayman is a multi-directional scrolling platform game. Characters and scenery are in a cartoon style. The CD-ROM disc allows a wide range of graphical changes. Plays interspersed with regular animated sequences. Both the main character and most of the enemies are modular. In short, the various components of their bodies are processed separately. This allows for a more fluid and realistic animation. This is Rayman technology. Yeah, because that's the thing actually, it's not just Rayman in the original game. It's a lot of the other characters as well, like Batilla and various enemies. They're all limbless. That's really interesting though. Because obviously eventually then, you then get to Rayman 2. And of course, by that time, 1999, they've got much more powerful hardware. And so increasingly characters start to have actual limbs. But it's fascinating that basically, if I've understood this correctly, the reason why Rayman was limbless, and not just him, but a lot of the characters in the original game are limbless. It's because of the limitation of the hardware of the time. So Ubisoft found a creative way to be able to do fluid animation by making the characters effectively limbless, thus modular. That's really clever. Character description: Rayman is an electronic character created by Professor Hendrix for his nephew Jim. What, Jim Hendrix? Like Jimmy. He progresses through virtual worlds and has incredible abilities. He can use his fist to control objects remotely, drive flying machines, change size, grab onto and swing underneath platforms, etc. He also has special powers with surprising effects. Despite these qualities, Rayman's electronic constitution means that his head can never go underwater. He uses energy capsules to regenerate. This allows him to withstand a whole range of damage, including a fall from a height over 8 times his own height, contact with high electrical currents, contact with fire, being crushed, lasers, bombs, rocks and punches, etc. Rayman can use strength capsules to increase the power of his fist and gain special powers. Magic Fist is base power, which allows him to destroy certain walls and can be combined with others. Invisibility. Rayman is invisible and doesn't need to fear enemies. Energy Ball. A ball which bounces off the scenery and destroys enemies. Was there ever a Rayman game that incorporated something like that? Because in Rayman M, one of the weapons you could get in there was the rubber bullet, which literally was that. It was like a small energy ball you could fire, and it would bounce off the scenery. So I guess that never became a thing until Rayman M. Shield, 3 spheres which spin around Rayman and destroy his enemies. Ray Dance, a mesmerising dance which paralyses enemies. Rayman's energy and strength are represented on screen by status bars. Available powers and selected objects are represented by icons. For large monsters, there's an additional bar displayed at the side of the screen. So enemies were supposed to have health bars. Interesting. Introduction. Some people think Professor Hendrix is a fool and eccentric. They would never believe that he's working on one of his most incredible projects so far, molecular transformation. Assisted in his research by his nephew Jim and his supercomputer BioGeo, he's about to experiment with transforming a lump of lead. Strange, right? Currently he's making the final adjustments to his devices while Jim focuses on his homework. Animation shot 1. We see a bolt of lightning hitting power lines and travelling on the cables into Professor Hendrix's home, a quirky house with huge telescopes, antennae, etc. Shot 2, the Professor is in the middle of his parametric transmutation experiment when his computer malfunctions. The room is filled with sparks and strange glowing figures, and the Professor undergoes a series of uncontrolled spasms before being absorbed into his machine. Shot 3, in the room above, Jim is playing on his console, which is connected to all kinds of strange devices. Suddenly sees an image of Professor Hendrix appear on his screen. The Professor asks Jim to help him, using the electronic character he created called Rayman. Shot 4, Jim presses the buttons on his console and Rayman appears, seen from several angles all at once. Shot 5, Rayman is thrown into the Professor's giant computer. We see him sliding down a large glowing tube. This would have been almost kind of meta, like you, the player, are Jim, and you're controlling Rayman to save your father or whatever. Here we go. Now here's some concept art. So this is what things would have looked like. So that's the house. Yeah, and there's like the Professor's lab. Jim playing on his device. Rayman being sucked through the portal into the computer. Chapter 1, Step 1, The Messenger. Professor Hendrix tasks Rayman with taking an antivirus to the Great Coordinator, the master of virtual worlds. Scene 1, Name, Control Room. This is the heart of the computer, the microprocessor. This machine sits in an effervescent liquid topped with 3 huge blue, red and purple tubes. A small control console sits to the left, and on the right is a massive door which occasionally rumbles from the attacks of enemies besieging the room. Action sequence 1 SC. Rayman falls out of one of the... Sorry, I'm getting gas coming up my throat from my tea. Trying not to hiccup, falls out of one of the mini tubes opening into the room. Professor Hendrix appears as a hologram and explains to Rayman that he needs to find the Great Coordinator in the memory sector to deliver an item which can destroy the virus. He then points to an opening at the top of the room which will allow Rayman to escape without being seen by the virus's minions who are attacking the room. 2AC, Rayman has to jump onto the bright tubes to reach the conduit which leads out of the room. So I'm guessing in the prototype was that sort of green pipe thing that you get to at the end of the level. Is that the conduit maybe? Scene 2, Name, outside the control room. This area is abandoned, full of old tubing, strange machines, etc. This is an easy level designed to teach players how to play Rayman. Action sequence 1AC, Rayman learns to climb the tubes. 2AC, Rayman learns to use the energy balls which come out of the tube to regenerate his health, the energy bar. 3AC, I keep saying Rayman learns how to use his fist to destroy an enemy before climbing onto a platform. 4AC, Rayman ducks down and crawls to move under the wall. 5AC, Rayman must press the button to collect the power capsule. 6AC, Rayman uses one bouncing object to jump higher. 7AC, Rayman uses his hands to grab onto a cable on the ceiling. 8AC, Rayman uses his fist to press the button to open the door. 9AC, at the end of the scene, Rayman has to jump into a giant glowing tube, 3DS and M. Scene 3, name the virus's minions. Description: Rayman falls out of the tube outside the control room. To his right is a normal door, and to the left is the giant door glowing red every time the two enemies attack. Action sequence 1SC, Rayman falls down the glowing tube, and the force of his fall makes a hole in the tube just before it turns left towards the control room. He falls through the hole and finds himself face to face with his enemies while balls of blue energy fall from the hole in the tube above. 2AC, Rayman must try to fight these powerful enemies. He must use his fist to knock the energy spheres coming from the tube towards the monsters while avoiding being shot. The monsters are highly vulnerable to the blue spheres and quickly explode, leaving behind a smoking pile of metal parts. 3AC, Rayman finds a key in the enemy's smoking remains and opens the door on the right. Okay, there's going to be a lot of reading here, I think. Scene 4, named Distributor Room. This huge hemispherical room contains 6 doors with a symbol above each doorway. The symbol above each accessible door is in high relief compared to the closed doors. At this point in the game, only 2 doors are accessible: the door to the control sector, where Rayman came from, and the door to the synchro sector. The door to the memory sector appears to be completely destroyed. Action sequence 1AC, door to the opposite sector where Rayman came from. 2AC, door to the music sector, closed. 3AC, door to the energy sector, also closed. 4AC, door to the image sector, closed. 5AC, door to the memory sector, destroyed, just as Rayman is about to go there. 6AC, only the door to the synchro sector is open. Rayman enters a sector controlled by the virus. Oh, well, here we are. Interesting. So yeah, this is like a whole level shot showing you how it would have looked. Fascinating. God, this is so interesting. This is like when I did that one massive freaking 2-hour episode or whatever it was that I mentioned actually in the previous video that was about the Beyond Good and Evil 20th anniversary edition, where it had the whole making of BG&E thing. Step 2, entering enemy territory. Rayman is forced to enter the zone controlled by the enemy. After narrowly escaping death, he flees on a scooter. He meets the Great Coordinator, who explains his next mission. Scene 1, name the capture. Rayman enters the lift room. It is a large, richly decorated room featuring a lift in the centre, which is inaccessible at this stage in the game. A door on the right at the back of the room leads to room 0. A door to the right of the lift leads to the guard room. Action sequence 1SC. The 2 red gozers, the worst, watching the lift were alerted by the sound of the fight between Rayman and the gozer. They capture Rayman as soon as he arrives in the room and fly him towards room 0. 2SC in the corridor leading to room 0. 2 characters wrapped in tubing knock out the gozers and free Rayman. They open an access hatch in the floor and drop through onto a scooter, which they use to escape. 3AC, Rayman must follow his friends and escape before the gozers come too. I assume gozers are some type of enemy. Scene 2, named Scooter Chase. Description: this scene takes place in a long dark corridor lit by several bluish lights, but the guards raise the alarm and the lights turn red. Rayman must reach the room of the Great Coordinator. 1AC, Rayman jumps onto a scooter. 2AC, Rayman must ride the scooter and stay ahead of the toxic gas deployed by the guards. 3AC, Rayman presses a button and activates the corridor door. 4AC, Rayman skids through the door at the last second. 5AC, same again. 6AC, a door opens and Rayman is attacked by bolts on hoverboards. He must push them off using his fist. 7AC, a big brother scans the corridor. Rayman must stay out of its field of view to avoid being targeted by the blinds located on the walls. 8AC, Rayman is trapped in a room. Just as before, he must stay out of the transparent fields of view. He must press the 4 buttons in the room to open the door and leave. Rayman must find the dead zones between the fields of view by opening one eye, then closing the other. 9AC, Rayman must hit the doors to open them. When a door is struck, the previous one closes, forcing Rayman to stand between 2 doors to avoid being crushed. 10SC, Rayman stands at the entrance to the Great Coordinator's room, 3D scene. Scene 3, named the Great Coordinator GC. Rayman is in the memory sector, and from here he can visit all the areas in the computer's memory. There are 2 teleporters in and out in this huge, brightly lit room, connected to a large bubble, in which an old man seems to be floating, the Great Coordinator. Action sequence 1SC. The Great Coordinator will use an object brought by Rayman to create a kind of antivirus. Unfortunately, the virus destroys the computer's PSSC, or Pulse System Synchronization Crystal, so it's impossible to upload the antivirus to the computer circuits. The GC explains to Rayman that there is a giant scorpion in one of the computer's virtual worlds, which has a PSSC on its stinger. Being far too old to go on this kind of adventure himself, the GC teleports Rayman to the World of Charms. Scorpion. Was this the genesis of Mr. Scops? That one boss? Oh. Okay, so scene 1. Oh, I see, it's like scene 1, scene 2. Yeah, so this is not just a single level. This is the level divided into multiple stages like it was when we were playing the actual Rayman. Interesting. So you see the transition points between areas. Step 3, the World of Charms. Rayman is forced to seek the crystal in the Great Coordinator's stead. He must explore the world of charms while avoiding all its pitfalls. Scene 1, the Swamp of Oblivion. These are the marshes of the world of charms. Strange creatures lurk in its murky environment. The vegetation is tropical, vines, strange plants, etc. 1AC, Rayman teeters along a fallen tree. 2AC, Rayman encounters giant mosquitoes and carnivorous aquatic plants. 3AC, Rayman must jump from lily pad to lily pad to cross the swamp. Some lily pads float across the surface of the water. 4AC, Rayman meets a naked Tarzan. This is, yeah, he became Tarzan, didn't he, in the actual Rayman 1. Naked Tarzan hiding behind a bush. Tarzan asks for his leopard skin loincloth hanging in the nearby trees. It's literally what we did. 5AC, Rayman is standing in front of two marshes, one empty and one full. Rayman must fill the lower marsh through a system of connected vessels by removing a cork. He must then jump onto this cork as it floats on the water, grab the loincloth, take it back to Tarzan. Tarzan thanks Rayman and disappears. Then Rayman jumps from lily pad to lily pad, avoiding piranhas and mosquitoes. 7AC, the last lily pad breaks off and floats across the surface of the water. Suddenly a giant crocodile surges out, its mouth wide open. An R standing for Ralenti, slow motion, flashes at the top of the screen. When slow motion is activated, Rayman must grab Tarzan's hand as he swings on a vine to try and save Rayman. A 3DS animation then shows Tarzan and Rayman swinging from vine to vine off into the distance. So Rayman had like a slow motion power in this version, okay? Scene 2, the Forest of Dreams. So this is the, well, I was about to say, no, this wasn't the name of the first world of the game. It was Pink Plant Woods, wasn't it? Or Pink Plant Forest, or whatever it was, in the actual full Rayman one. Rayman encounters birds that drop imps and characters hanging in the trees who throw projectiles, but the Forest of Charms is first and foremost a verdant green environment full of butterflies, birds and magical mushrooms. 1AC, Rayman can enter the cave by jumping on the ground to make it collapse. He finds bonuses and scorpions. 2AC, Rayman must hit the wooden balls with his fist to make them swing and can use them as platforms. That's the predecessor of those swinging plums, isn't it? 3AC, characters on giant leaves attack Rayman. He must take out a character and use their leaf as a magic carpet. This leaf has limited power and can only be used for a few seconds. He can either go down the cliff towards the mountain and continue his adventure, or climb to the treetops where he meets a worm and a giant apple that gives him health and energy points. 4AC, Rayman has to climb the mountain slopes and avoid the huge rocks tumbling down. 5AC, Rayman finds the source of his troubles, a tiny but powerful character. Rayman can knock him out with a single punch. This character apparently doesn't even have a name or a description. 6AC, after transitioning to Mode 7, Rayman finds some weights on the ground. He uses them like a potion in Asterix and becomes powerful, big muscles. 7AC, Rayman must then lift the mountain he cannot cross. The shot rotates and zooms in as Rayman shakes the mountain and throws it out of his way. Rayman can now enter the heart of the mountain, 3DS anim. Scene 3, at Joe's. This is Eat at Joe's, is it? That one stage? This is a highly contrasting passage as Rayman moves from gloomy scenery to beach scenery, outdoor bar, coconut trees, powdery sand, etc. Rayman meets one of his close friends to be Joe. 1AC, Rayman moves through interweaving roots and cobwebs. During his descent, he encounters spiders, scorpions and bats. 2AC, first piece of sign to find, eat. Second piece of sign to find, at. Third piece of sign to find, Joe's. 5AC, Joe the beach vendor asks Rayman to retrieve his neon Eat at Joe's sign because he has lost all his customers. Rayman gives all three pieces to Joe, who gives him a rubber ring so he can float on the water's surface without getting electrocuted. 6AC, while crossing the lake, some eye fish come and inspect Rayman. Then it is the nose fish's turn to come and give Rayman a sniff. A mutant fish, nose plus eye plus teeth, then attacks Rayman. 7AC, Rayman passes under an intermittent waterfall. Scene 4, the Tears of Vulcan. Interesting. Rayman enters an inhospitable underground environment. 1AC, descent on wires. Rayman must avoid the watches with tongues. Weird. Okay, watches with tongues. Strange. 2AC, Rayman can hit a horizontal stalactite that will move to the right and enable him to enter the secret passage. 3AC, stalactite that falls from the ceiling. 4AC, rock to be destroyed with a powerful punch. 5AC, synchro passage, jump on the stones falling into the lava before they vanish. Also avoid any rocks that could fall on Rayman and the deadly gases spewing from the lava. Scene 5, the crystal door. Rayman is in a room with 3 mushrooms and a totem. The walls are covered in multicoloured crystals. 1AC, when Rayman hits the crystal door, the mushrooms play a series of musical notes. 2AC, Rayman must reproduce the music by jumping on the mushrooms in the right order to trigger the crystal door's mechanism. So they were going to have a memory game in it, apparently. I feel like there's a lot of games that have this kind of mechanic. 3AC, if Rayman makes a mistake playing the music, the totem fires very slow projectiles from its eyes. 4AC, scorpion fight, light effect. When Rayman enters the very dark cavity, he sees the scorpion's eyes open and light up the room. Rayman's eyes are the only visible part of him. The scorpion can fire electric arcs from its crystal or attack with its pincers. 5AC, Rayman must cling onto the stalactites to grab the crystal from the scorpion's tail. At the end of the fight, the scorpion goes back to sleep. Rayman is then teleported to the Great Coordinator's room, who sends him to the Synchro room to place the crystal. Rayman uses a lift to go up to the guard room, 3DS Anim. And here is your level design. There's your crocodile over there. And there's the worm in the big apple up there. The swinging stones. The mountain. And there's Eat at Joe's down there, number 5. I see. And it comes to here. Oh, this is so cool. And the totem. Oh yeah, Big Scorpion. That's definitely the predecessor of Mr. Scops. It's got the same vibe with its giant eyes and segmented body and its pincer design. Look at it. Okay, step 4, the crystal. Rayman is left to his own devices in the enemy sector. Using his ingenuity, he infiltrates it using a Goza's armour. Rayman goes through the recovery plant before fighting the virus for the first time. Scene 1, the disguise. Rayman is in a ventilation shaft leading to the guard room. 1AC, Rayman exits the lift and is in a ventilation shaft above the guard room. 2AC, Rayman sees a Goza leave while another is regenerating. He falls through the air vent. The remaining Goza puts up no resistance because he's not wearing a helmet. After Rayman hits him, he loses his armour. The Goza's true appearance is then revealed. Rayman uses the guard's armour. Scene 2, the lift. This is a sequence based on the special effects caused by the lift being set in motion. 1AC, when he enters the lift room, a guard calls out to Rayman telling him to hurry up and get into position. Rayman must then stand next to the guard to activate the lift. Special effects. The lift comes down and the guard and Rayman get in. Scene 3, the fight. This is the room where Rayman and a Goza will have a terrible fight. 1AC, the lift stops and the guard unlocks the top hatch. 2AC, Rayman then has 2 options: wait for the guard once the hatch has been opened or not. 3AC, depending on the previous choice, there will be 1 or 2 guards in the upper room. The guard from the upper room recognises Rayman and the fight begins. Rayman fights the opponents with the armour and characteristics of a Goza. Parentheses, laser. 4AC, the impact of the lasers destroys the walls. 5AC, the impact of the lasers destroys the box of explosives. 6AC, the impact of the lasers destroys the boxes of metal spiders. 7AC, if the lift is destroyed, it vanishes, leaving a hole in the middle of the room and making the fight more difficult. 8AC, at the end of the fight, a key appears that can be used to open the door. Scene 4, the recovery plant. This is an area where the virus is destroying the computer's components to get the parts it needs to build its creatures. On the ground, capsules containing various characters can be seen. There are large baths of boiling destructive liquid. Large magnets are moving around on the ceiling, dipping the capsules into the liquid and recovering spare parts. 1AC, either Rayman continues on his way or he frees a drain cleaner trapped inside a capsule. If he chooses the second option, he can hang on to the drain cleaner stuck on the ceiling, thereby overcoming several obstacles. 2AC, Rayman must not jump under a magnet or else he'll be sucked in and plunged into an acid bath. 3AC, Rayman climbs onto a platform and reaches a ceiling beam, on which he manages to get past the last 2 baths while avoiding being hit by any splashes. 4AC, Rayman drops down to the ground. Unfortunately, a grey Goza is standing between him and the door. Rayman must push the Goza under the magnet and then press the red button in the middle of the room. The captured Goza is then thrown into a bath of acid. Scene 5, name the virus. The room has 2 doors on either side, platforms, and a cable attached to the ceiling that allows Rayman to cross the room. 1SC, the Great Coordinator, is in the middle of the room shouting incoherently. After a moment, the GC turns into a war machine, morphing. Attacks and appearances of the virus. 2, a modular monster that walks and shoots rays from its sole eye, the weak spot. 3, a spiky ball that comes straight at Rayman after defeating him. 4, an eye emerges from the shell looking around the room. 5, it pivots to the seen from above position and shoots out sprays of spikes. 6, it pivots back to the ball position and waves a white flag. 7, it pulls out a revolver and shoots at Rayman from head to toe. 8SC, at the end of the fight, it turns into tortured heads, morphing. The hell does that mean? And goes through the ceiling to escape. Rayman places the crystal in the receptacle, and the computer's core starts up again, light effects, electric arcs, etc. He's then teleported to the control room. Scene 6, the twist. There is a sense of alarm, just as Rayman thought he had defeated the virus. Actually, the virus has made a strategic retreat, so it can better counterattack. 1SC, Rayman is in the control room. Professor Hendricks explains that the virus can take on many guises, and that the Great Coordinator has vanished. Rayman learns that he is the only one who can replace the GC. To do so, he must acquire all 3 powers, the magic paintbrush, energy screen and magic radio. Now he must free the image, energy and music sectors. 2AC, Rayman must go to the distributor room on the left, and choose one of the 3 sectors. Okay, so he backtracks then at this stage to a place that he's already been to. Interesting. That's flipped over, but sure. Chapter 2, Step 5, the Image Sector. Rayman is tasked with restoring colour to the Image Sector by fighting Mr. Ink, an envoy of the virus. At the end of his quest, he will get one of 3 powers, the magic paintbrush. Oh boy, this is quite a lot of reading. God, we've only just reached page 40 in this thing. We're not quite even halfway yet. Scenery. Rayman enters the image sector. It will change against the backdrop of a sheet of paper free of paint and other graphic elements. 1AC, he must turn on the colour taps. There is a red tap, 2AC green tap, 3AC blue tap. 4AC, when all 3 taps have been turned on, a floor of coloured paint forms, enabling Rayman to progress. 5AC, the backdrop is black when a pirate film set falls to the floor. Effects of tearing, folding, holes in the fabric and frame. Attacks by characters from the set: a pirate ship, privateers with or without swords, privateers with wooden legs or hooks, cannonball, the lookout in the crow's nest, throw bombs. This was the first stage of Space Mama, sort of. You know, where it's like a backdrop lifts, and then a set. It's like a set, and you fight the ship with a couple of pirates, and then the pirate version of Space Mama. Okay, 660, the backdrop collapses, making way for a new set, a western. Attacks by characters from the set: a street facing a saloon, hiding cowboys, drunk cowboys shooting left, right, and centre, a living jumping cactus, and a cowboy on horseback even. 7AC, the backdrop collapses, making way for a new set, Star Wars. Attacks by characters from the set: space with planets and ships, small shoot-em-up style ships, lots of different styles, characters with jetpacks, planets falling down to crush Rayman. This is the last level and is once again possible to progress. 8AC, the floor comes to a stop, geometric shapes are drawn on cubes, horizontal, vertical and diagonal lines and circles. When Rayman hits these cubes, a platform takes shape corresponding to the drawn shape. He progresses from shape to shape. Behind Rayman, an eraser erases the shapes. There's a lot of description. 9AC, Rayman must hit a special cube to get the magic paintbrush. 10AC, there's an outline of a door at the end of the level. Rayman must use the paintbrush to paint the rest of the door and get out. Scene 2, Mr. Ink. He's the big boss. He has a habit of getting rid of colour by throwing black ink at it. He is a modular monster with fountain pens in his hands. The backdrop depicts a Renaissance-style scenery. 1AC, he is a modular monster with fountain pens, as a repeat of above. 2AC, Rayman must use the paintbrush to send colour flying at the monster's body till it's been filled with colour. 3AC, attacks from the inkwell. Direct attack with 1 or more pens. It can shake its pens to send black ink flying. It reloads its pens by dipping them in its body. 5SC, the backdrop scenery regains its full colour. The inkwell goes off happily, whistling and spraying everything with colour. Rayman finds himself back in the distributor room. What a fascinating level. I like that concept of the set piece constantly changing from like pirate to western to sci-fi. I mean, we sort of got that a bit with Space Mama, but obviously a very different version, because obviously that description before had all kinds of set pieces in the scenery being sort of more active, whereas the actual Space Mama fight was less like that. And so that's Mr. Ink. He has Mr. Stone vibes, not gonna lie. So he's kind of the forerunner of Mr. Stone, that one boss. Interesting. Alright, looking at time, we're on page 45, so there's only 40 more pages to go. I'm just going to take another jump cut, because it's getting late. I might resume this recording tomorrow and continue on with this history section. So it's going to be a very big video. It's going to take me a while to record all of it, but I've made a good chunk of it there, which is pretty good. So I'll see you just in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're back in, ladies and gentlemen. It is the next day, and we are continuing on with the Rayman Design Bible. Yes, we are going to do this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to read the whole thing, because, you know, looking at how much I've recorded so far, this is definitely going to be way over an hour, this video, which is fine. You know, I did the same thing with the bonus material in the Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition, so I'm going to do it here as well. So, continuing on, Step 6, the Music Sector. Rayman must reactivate the instruments one by one because they have all gone out of tune. His size will change several times as he progresses through the instruments. At the end of the level, he'll receive a magic radio, which will be able to counter certain attacks from the virus. So, I guess this was kind of the predecessor of Banland, and also the fact that he can change size. So at this stage they had the shrinking mechanic possibly in mind that we did see in the main game. Scene 1, the prison. Rayman has entered the music sector, but everything is dark and gloomy because the virus has taken it over. 1AC, Rayman is in a prison guarded by giant eyes. 2SC, the imprisoned musicians explain that the musical world has gone silent since the virus imprisoned them and took control of the instruments. 3AC, door to the level. Scene 2, the mad instruments. Scenery is very pleasant, blue sky, fluffy clouds, etc. The idea of this set is to gradually get the various instruments to play the music, parentheses jazz music. Reminds me of Gong Heights. that one level. 1 AC, the tuning fork plays the note A when Rayman jumps on it. 2 AC, Rayman jumps on the metronomes, which begin to swing back and forth, tempo noise in the background. 3 AC, Rayman jumps onto the stave and is attacked by wrong notes. 4 AC, he then jumps onto a big drum where he has to avoid ghostly drumsticks, which appear in the background. Rayman is launched into the air with each tap of the drumsticks. 5 AC, he then jumps into the hi-hat cymbals, which close and travel up like a lift. 6 AC, fight with a gozer, mad drummer on a snare drum. When the gozer hits the drum, it produces wrong notes and uses its drumsticks like hammers. This really does feel like some of the stuff we saw in Bandland is very much inspired by this. 7 AC, Rayman has to climb onto the double bass. He can leap from string to string to avoid vibrations coming up or notes floating down on parachutes. 8 AC, after transitioning to mode 7, he must bounce on the neck of the double bass to reach the piano keys. 9 AC, Rayman must avoid the ghostly hands. 10 AC, Rayman jumps behind the perforated paper roll on the piano and finds himself inside the piano. 11 AC, Rayman is under the hammers and must avoid them. The hammers are triggered by Marsomots? Don't know what they are. Jumping on them. 12 AC, Rayman can get to the hammers using a broken hammer. He jumps from one to the other, avoiding the holes. 13 AC at the end, he climbs up a spider web and continues to the top of the piano. 14 AC, Rayman jumps into the bell of the saxophone and comes out in miniature form. Scene 3, the labyrinth. Rayman enters a strange instrument that looks vaguely like a brass instrument. 1 AC, Rayman must pull the pistons. 2 AC, a valve which opens under Rayman's weight. He can only stay there for a few seconds. 3 AC, after using the valve and moving past piston to travel upwards, Rayman must pull the piston. 4 AC, go back to pull the piston. 5 AC, pull both pistons. 6 AC, fall and pull the piston, which allows the miniaturized Rayman access to the still. Be careful, this piston gradually closes, so Rayman must hurry. Rayman comes out of the area at normal size and smacks into the pipe, giving himself a bump. 7 AC, the switch changes the direction of the airflow through the tubes to operate the left or right valves. Valve equals spring. 8 AC, first go through the right-hand conduit to pull on the pistol and free the conduit, which leads to the big boss. 9 AC, this mouthpiece allows Rayman to change size. He enters through the large side and comes out small and vice versa. Scene 4, the Saxo monster. Is this Mr. Sax, the predecessor of that boss? Rayman is in front of a strange character, Saxo. 1 AC, Rayman enters the room in miniature form. Saxo is also miniature. As Rayman approaches, Saxo rushes to the back of the room and uses a pipe to inflate himself. He's now gigantic and moves forward to crush the tiny Rayman. Rayman must run between Saxo's feet and inflate himself as well. Rayman and Saxo face each other like two giants. Rayman now has a range of special moves available: snap kick, air kick, punch and jump kick. Okay, so they had a concept then at one point that Rayman would have other moves that he could do for combat. At the end of the fight, Saxo calms down again and returns to join the other instruments on the level. Rayman falls back into the prison through a conduit and frees the prisoners, who thank him and give him musical power, the magic radio. Rayman returns to the distributor room. Also, I've got about half an hour before my friggin' washing machine, which you might be able to hear in the background, completes its current cycle. And then, once I basically hear it bleeping, because it's done, I may, shortly after that, basically jump cut, and then I'll go and empty it and get some lunch. Here we go. Some level shots. So yeah, this has definitely got a Gong Heights vibe to it with the clouds by the looks of it, but it's just completely different because it's obviously got the metronomes and stuff. There's an interesting concept though, giant metronomes that you can presumably land on, and as they go back and forth, you can use it as a platform. That guy with the fucking giant drumsticks, oh, we definitely saw him. He was in Bandland, wasn't he? So is that what a gozer is? So, interesting. Big armoured dude. Yeah, because we definitely saw that guy. He was in Bandland. He was like raising his drumsticks and he'd beat them down on the drum. You have to try and avoid them and all that. Oh, it looks so cool though, doesn't it? Oh, and there's Saxo. So yeah, he was kind of Mr. Sax. Interesting. Step 7, the energy sector. Rayman must prove his intelligence by creating an electrical circuit and also prove his skill in the magnetic zone. In this part of the game, Rayman uses a sniffer to fight a ray punk and a metal platform to move around like a bolt. He also receives a force field as a reward for fighting Mr. Photon, a being of pure electrical energy. Okay, this is a new boss. I notice how a lot of the bosses in the original Rayman, they're just Mr. something. Mr. Sax, Mr. Stone, Mr. Scops, Mr. Dark. Granted, that's actually only just over half, but because obviously you've got Bazit, Mosquito, and Space Mamma. But yeah, over half of them are just called Mr. Something. So apparently there was going to be a Mr. Photon at some point. Scene 1, name X-Ray. Rayman arrives in the energy sector. The atmosphere is electric. 1AC, Rayman enters the room, which suddenly darkens, leaving only his eyes visible in the darkness. 2AC, handle to grab to switch on the light. Oh, there's a handle, rather, it should say. 3AC, bolts attack Rayman, only their eyes are visible in the darkness. 4AC, X-ray zone. We can only see the bones of Rayman and the bolts when they're in this zone. 5AC, zone with electric rays to avoid. 6AC, door to the large electrical room. Scene 2, the electrical circuit. Description, Rayman is in front of a switched off fan and electrical circuit. 1AC, in this room, Rayman must get the fan to switch on so he can use the wind it generates to jump higher. 2AC, fan motors positive and negative terminals. 3AC, generators positive terminal to connect to the fan's positive terminal. 4AC, generators negative terminal to connect to the fan's negative terminal. 5AC through 7AC, or just switch to close and switch to open. 8AC, switch to move into position A. 9AC, switch to move into position A. 10AC, switch to open. 11AC, switch to move into position A. 12AC, switch to close. 13AC, in the electrical tubes, Rayman sees positive red balls of energy and negative blue balls of energy. If the red and blue balls meet, they cause an explosion. It's deadly for Rayman if he's nearby. It wakes up the sniffer, sleeping below. Rayman must change the positions of the switches to direct the red energy balls to the fan's positive terminal and the blue balls to the negative terminal. Here are the 4 main outcomes when Rayman uses the switches. Oh god, right, okay. I'm not going to read the outcomes, but you can read those for yourself. So, outcome 0 is starting positions, outcome 1 is short circuit, outcome 2 is reverse polarity, outcome 3 is correct polarity. 14AC, Rayman jumps and is pushed higher if the polarity is correct. If the polarity is reversed, the fan turns in the opposite direction and sucks Rayman in. 15AC, Rayman must jump onto the platforms which descend while avoiding the electric arc coming from below. 16AC, Rayman must get high enough to hit the button and stop the electric arc. 17AC, Rayman climbs onto the sniffer and tames it. 18AC, he confronts another sniffer ridden by a ray punk. Rayman can use the sniffer to walk, run, roll, track, shoot, jump with low gravity because the sniffer has small reactors under its feet. After tiring out the enemy sniffer, Rayman must leave his mount behind and exit the room. At the end of the fight, Mr. Photon is ejected from the sphere and Rayman can enter. 3DS animation where Rayman spins inside the sphere and receives a new power, the magnetic force field. Rayman finds himself back in the distributor room. Okay, so it definitely sounds like, there were much more sort of puzzle elements that were going to be involved in this. Voir plan zoom. Okay, interesting. God, I like these images. Okay, looking at the page number we're up to 63. So we're just over 20 pages left here. I mean, you've got to remember some of these pitch pages you can just flick through very quickly. But step 8, return on a scooter. Rayman returns to the memory room where the virus has entrenched itself. He uses a scooter. The route is short, but a guard will get in his way. Scene 1, scooter. The virus has already been this way. There's evidence of an explosion and some sticky residue. As it fled, it left Rayman a surprise. Mandibulax? That's such a Rayman name for a monster or something. 1SC, Rayman jumps onto a scooter, 3DS anim. 2AC, Rayman must avoid the stone attached to the ceiling by a viscous thread. 3AC, glutinous guards fire on Rayman. 4AC, metal plates occasionally fall from the ceiling and Rayman must avoid them. 5AC, a large glutinous monster spits out smaller characters which fall suspended from parachutes. Rayman must make them fall by hitting them with his fist. 6AC, Rayman gets closer to Mandibulax and the fight begins. Attacks, he shoots waves from his antennae, hits the ground with his tail generating sparks. He moves slightly from side to side to limit Rayman's movement. Defenses, Rayman is powerless against the insect's carapace. Any area hit with a punch vibrates. Rayman must hit the block stuck on the ceiling. It gradually detaches and finally crushes Mandibulax. 7AC, Rayman parks his scooter before entering the memory room. Ooh. Okay, so that's Mandibulax. Okay, so that's a quick one actually. Step 9, the virus's stronghold. Rayman must liberate the last of the virtual worlds, the virus's stronghold. He's thrown into a fantastical world full of cakes, circuses and games. So is that Candy Chateau, the level with Mr. Dark in it? Because apparently that level, although it's called Mr. Dark's Dare, the actual setting of it is apparently called Candy Chateau. Because he didn't really mention that in the game, but I've been informed that's what it was. Scene 1, the recipe. Rayman is in a world full of cakes and sweeties. He must gather together 4 ingredients in the mixing bowl to bake a giant cake. He can then climb and grab onto the balloons. The monsters encountered here are clowns and slices of bread, apparently. 1AC, Rayman must use spoons to catapult the ingredients into the mixing bowl. 2AC, a pot of jam has fallen onto the ground and will slow down Rayman if he steps in it. 3AC, Rayman must push the sugar, first ingredient, onto the spoon and catapult it into the bowl. Note, each ingredient icon is ticked off the recipe as it is collected. The 4 ingredients don't have to be collected in a specific order. 4AC, Rayman drops a weight onto the scales to make them tip. He must collect the flour, the second ingredient. 5AC, Rayman must push an egg, third ingredient, over to the bowl. 6AC, Rayman must collect the cherry, the fourth and final ingredient, and throw it into the bowl. 7SC, the cake rises and allows Rayman to climb higher. 8AC, Rayman must grab onto a balloon to reach the next table. Scene 2, the rocket. Rayman must enter the cake, where other characters await him. 1AC, Rayman must duck to let go of the balloon before he's burned by the candles. He falls into a plate of jelly, which softens his landing. 2AC, Rayman must climb the cake because he has nothing to activate the rocket with. The door at the bottom is shut, so he must use the upper door. 3AC, game characters with party hats, goes balls, clowns, wish Rayman a happy birthday and offer him a gift, a visit to Joe's. As they leave, the candle on the right is lit. 4AC, Rayman hits the candle, which falls and lights the rocket's fuse. He must jump onto the rocket to fly away, 3DS animation. I'm assuming that's what that means. Animation. 5AC, Rayman must jump onto one of the pipes before the rocket explodes, firework. 6AC, Rayman must jump from pipe to pipe as one by one they are destroyed. Scene 3, the balls. Rayman has fallen into a circus tent. He must cross it to reach the pinball machine where the virus is hiding. 1AC, Rayman falls through a hole in the circus tent roof and lands on a ball. 2AC, Rayman jumps continuously from ball to ball. He can't walk. If he jumps onto the middle, he bounces straight up. If not, he bounces at an angle around 60 degrees to the ground. 3AC, Rayman must avoid a fire breather. 4AC, Rayman must also avoid the torches thrown by a juggler. 5AC, Rayman must jump into the centre of a flaming hoop. 6AC, he must then jump through 2 flaming hoops. 7AC, Rayman must use an elephant to cross the flaming beam. He bounces off it like a ball. 8AC, Rayman must jump into the cannon. He's shot into the pinball machine at 3DS animation. Scene 4, the pinball machine. A room shaped like a giant pinball machine. To get out and confront the virus, Rayman must open the door in the centre by lighting up the 3 symbols, triangle, square and circle. 1AC, to reach the upper section of the pinball machine, Rayman must destroy the 2 triangles supporting it. The triangle symbols light up. 2AC, triangle symbol lights up, sorry, misread that. 2AC, each row of targets opens a trapdoor to the top, allowing Rayman to hit a bigger target. He must avoid the spikes that move horizontally while hitting the targets. Once this is done, the squares, which support the central flippers, disappear and the square symbol lights up. 3AC, Rayman must jump onto the mega bumper, which hurls him upward towards the 3 targets while synchronising with the horizontal spikes. Once the 3 targets are hit, the round symbol will light up. 4AC, Rayman must go back down towards the flippers to jump through the virus door in the centre of the screen. An enormous flame occasionally blocks the door. The centre of the pinball machine is on fire. So here it is. That's the cake growing. So it gets up to the balloons above. I see the sticky jam over there as well. Okay. So sort of like, yeah, circus tents. Oh, that's the rocket, sorry. And there's the circus tent. How weird. And then he gets into the pinball machine, right? Step 10, the final showdown. For the second time, Rayman finds himself facing the virus, which once again demonstrates its powers of transformation. Rayman, who has collected 3 magical objects, will have to use them. The virus's end is nigh. Scene 1, the final showdown. The final showdown with the virus, which will take on 3 different forms: Master Gozer, the Hypnotizer and the Caterpillar. The virus changes form, morphing to force Rayman to use the 3 powers: the paint, the force field and the magic radio. The aim is to destroy all 3 forms. A bar appears at the top of the screen for each form. Action sequence: Master Gozer attacks. He shoots spikes from his shoulders. He shoots stars from his hand. He shoots lasers from his eyes. He takes flight with boosters in his feet. He shoots energy balls. Defenses: to damage Master Gozer, Rayman must use his force field and deflect Master Gozer's various shots. This is the only way to weaken the Gozer. Rayman pushes the Gozer away with his fist, which angers him. When the Gozer's energy is very low, he can no longer transform. He splits into 2 small golden Gozers who have a classic attack. 2. The Hypnotizer attacks. It uses its eyes to hypnotise Rayman, who can no longer move. It moves towards Rayman to catch him in its tentacles. It uses its tentacles as a propeller and rises to the top of the screen. It retracts them and finally tries to crash down onto Rayman. Defenses: Rayman uses magic radio to cancel out the spell that is hypnotising him. He can then move around again. Rayman can push the Hypnotizer away with his fist. Rayman must hit the monster's limp body when its eyes are open. The colours of its body and its transparency change with every punch. Scene 2, the end. Description: the virus has been destroyed and Professor Hendricks is free and can leave the computer again, but Rayman would rather stay in his magical imaginary world. The control room is bright and very colourful. Action sequence: 1SC, Rayman finds himself in the control room where the Professor explains that the virus has been destroyed and pieces have been restored. Professor Hendricks now has the opportunity to go back to the real world. He asks Rayman to follow him, but Rayman would rather stay. He presents the gift he received for his birthday and explains that he's going on holiday to the virtual worlds at Joe's. 2SC, the Professor disappears through the glowing pipe. 3SC, Rayman finds himself on Joe's beach with all the characters he has met in the game, the Great Coordinator, Tarzan, the musicians, etc. He lies down with a cocktail in hand and tells all his friends about his adventures. This is interesting, because he lies down with a cocktail in hand. Do you reckon the opening cinematic of the actual Rayman was sort of inspired a bit by this? Because it starts with Rayman literally in a hammock on a beach, giving his thumbs up. Interesting. 4SC, the credits begin to rise, and the backdrop disappears, beach with Rayman. Now and then we see postcards showing Rayman on holiday, Rayman water skiing, Rayman playing volleyball on the beach with gozers and clowns, etc. Rayman dancing while wearing a loincloth, etc. 5SC, the end with the Rayman logo. That is a bit like the credit sequence of the actual Rayman, because it had funny pictures with Rayman and the other characters, didn't it? Weird. Okay, the caterpillar. Odd that this is here and not before the other page, but the last page, but sure. This is a modular monster built like a caterpillar with 4 parts linked together that follow each other whenever it moves. Attacks: it jumps on Rayman after spotting him. All 4 parts gather in the middle of the screen. They first assume form A to then transform into form B, in which 2 of the parts are independent. Both parts jump to the opposite ends of the screen. They fire a round of shots from their eyes, from the bottom eye to the top eye. Then they gather in the middle, transforming into a virus or starting a new attack cycle. Defences: Rayman must use his paintbrush to colour all 4 parts of the monster before he can strike them. He can only colour them when the monster is in caterpillar form. Rayman can punch the caterpillar to force it to change course. In Form B, Rayman can hit its eyes to prevent them from firing. He can also hit its head to knock the structure over. When all 4 parts have been coloured, the monster can no longer use Form B, and all 4 parts become independent and bounce around the screen. Rayman must hit them one by one. When all 3 appearances of the virus have been destroyed, it returns to its true form. The heads that make it up separate and vanish, and the broken toy scenery transforms into amazing toy scenery. The virus has been defeated. And here you go. Here's the outline of what this actually is. Ooh. I like that tentacle monster at the bottom. That's such a weird looking thing. Miscellaneous enemies. Oh, okay. So, Tordos. This is a monster that moves across platforms from right to left and opens its eyes wide when it reaches the edge before changing direction. It does not fire or react to Rayman. Spyron. This is a small spider that jumps and moves forward occasionally. It changes direction when it hits a wall or an edge. It does not fire or react to Rayman. Antos. It's a kind of ant. Antos. It's a kind of ant that walks on the ground and changes direction when it hits a wall or an edge. Does not fire or react to Rayman. Flying Bolt. This is a monster that moves around on a flying board and follows Rayman with a sense of inertia. It tries to hit Rayman if he's within short range. When Rayman hits it, it stops to catch its breath for a few seconds, and after 2 hits, the bolt is thrown from its board. A welder bolt. This is a flying bolt that only attacks when Rayman hits it, or when it receives an energy pellet. It is sensitive to blows and energy pellets. Walking bolt. This is a monster that moves around on foot and follows Rayman. It tries to hit Rayman if he is within short range. When Rayman hits it, it stops to catch its breath for a few seconds. Guardian Bolt. This is a bolt that keeps an eye on the energy level. It follows its instructions to the letter and stays rooted to the spot. However, it has a powerful laser that it aims at Rayman if it spots him. Ray Punk. This is a monster that tries to hit Rayman whenever he's within range. It jumps occasionally to hinder Rayman. It follows the lines on the ground. Throwing Ray Punk. This is a monster hidden in the trees that throws projectiles. Locksmith Ray Punk. This is a Ray Punk that simply turns around and scratches its head whenever Rayman or an energy pellet hits it. It drops a key when destroyed. Scorpios. This is a small scorpion that follows the ground contours. It shoots a small flame at Rayman when it's close to him. It does not follow Rayman. Big Brother. This is an eye that monitors critical areas and controls the blinds. Blind. This is a blind monster that fires at Rayman when he's in the field of vision of the Big Brothers. Sniffer. This monster tracks down Rayman by sniffing the ground. It then starts running to crush him. After a while, the Sniffer falls asleep. An explosion or punch is enough to wake it up. Some of them can be tamed. Tamed even. Eglaw. This is a bird of prey that flies and pecks at Rayman if he is nearby. Some of them drop stones or imps. If the bird is not knocked out by Rayman, it makes 2 flights. Mosquitoes. This is a mosquito that flies and stops near Rayman. It then pulls out a telescopic stinger and tries to sting him. The mosquito follows Rayman for a few seconds before flying away. Grey Gozer. It follows the ground contours and jumps based on where Rayman is. It stops occasionally to fire a laser from its finger. It fires a ray from its eyes. Holds up well against Rayman's blows and can only be knocked out. Red Gozer identical to the Grey Gozer, but it has more advanced weaponry, faster, larger laser. Holds up even better against Rayman's attacks. Golden Gozer identical to the Red Gozer. Ball Clown, it rolls around on a circus ball and follows Rayman to punch him. It can get down from platforms, but cannot get back up. Mother-in-law Clown's an odd one. It walks and follows Rayman. It can get down from platforms and jump and back up by jumping. It attacks Rayman with its mother-in-law's tongue. Okay, there must be some strange humour going on with that one. Juggling Clown, this is identical to the mother-in-law Clown, but it uses Skittles to juggle and hit Rayman. I wonder if actually the mother-in-law Clown, I wonder if that's the predecessor of Space Mama? Possibly. Do you think? I don't know. Tarantula, this is a spider that follows the scenery and walks across its web. It jumps if Rayman is higher than it is, and speeds up unexpectedly. It looks ahead to spot Rayman, but turns around if he's close behind it. Blob, this is a monster anchored to the scenery that spits projectiles. A few blows are enough to knock it out. Piranha, it swims and jumps occasionally, does not react to Rayman's presence. Dracus, this is a sleeping bat hanging from the rock in the cave. It takes flight and attacks Rayman if he gets too close. Canopode, this is a fish with tusks instead of teeth that moves exactly like a piranha. I think we saw that in Eat at Joe's, didn't we? Because there was like a fish in there that had sort of weird tusks. Visuopode? This is a fish that only has eyes, heads toward Rayman and examines him for a second or two before swimming away. Rayman cannot hit it. Olfactopode is a fish with an extraordinary sense of smell. It sniffs Rayman for a second or two before swimming away. Rayman cannot hit it. Tripode is a combination of a canopode, a visuopode and an olfactopode. It swims and jumps on Rayman when he is at the right distance. It follows Rayman's movements from the side for a few seconds and then swims away. Imp, this is a little devil that moves forward and occasionally jumps while opening its mouth. It follows the scenery. Glutton, this is a sleeping swamp monster that wakes up when Rayman approaches it. When that happens, it rushes towards Rayman and tries to catch him in its giant mouth. Ray Killer, this is a hitman that moves around on the ground shooting left, right and centre with its bionic arm. It does not jump or follow Rayman. Dola, this is a mutant note that moves forward by jumping and generates a random note with each jump. It follows the ground or staves and does not follow Rayman. Marsamoth, this is a long-tailed moth that jumps from hammer to hammer and changes direction randomly. It is perfectly happy to dance on the hammers without paying any attention to Rayman. Splatch, this is a two-part monster that aligns horizontally with the player. Both parts close in on Rayman if he stays still for too long. I just heard my washing machine has completed its cycle. Symbol sound, Rayman cannot destroy them and they go away after a while. We'll finish reading this design bible and I'll probably take another jump cut. Gutor, this is the equivalent of a wrong note. It jumps on Rayman and always moves around in the same direction. Gouache, assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is a paint can that moves around on the ground while whistling and splattering a few drops. If Rayman is nearby, it fires a spray of drops at him. Eraser. This is a flying eraser that erases the lines Rayman draws. It enters the level if Rayman takes too long to draw another line. It takes Rayman one or two hits to knock it out. Chameleos. This is a sleeping stone monster. If Rayman gets near it, it wakes up and sticks out a sticky tongue that sucks Rayman in. Rayman is powerless against Chameleos. Work schedule. Well, forget, we'll read it. 5 weeks, getting started with the SNES and preparing utilities, implementation of the map editor, implementation of the sprite editor, implementation of the SNES 65816 kernel, study of SNES features, that you see next to it in the parentheses. 3 weeks, implementation of the Rayman character routine, moving the character, animation, implementation of scenery tracking. 2 weeks, implementation of Rayman in scrolling scenery with adjusted repositioning during jumps. Rayman can then move around correctly in scenery. 3 weeks, implementation of step 1, getting started, plus 3 weeks, miscellaneous implementation of step 2. Oh, right. This is a bit weirdly laid out, but sure. Capture and Scooter, implementation of Step 3, The World of Charms, implementation of Step 4, Disguise plus Fights plus Recovery Area plus Virus Fight, implementation of Step 5, Image Sector, implementation of Step 6, Music Sector, implementation of Step 7, the Energy Sector, implementation of Step 8, Mandibulax, implementation of Step 9, the Virus's Stronghold, Cake Circus and Pinball Machine, implementation even of Step 10, End of the Virus, implementation of the intro and ending of the game, for a total of 58 weeks of development. Wow. Kind of optimistic. I mean, sometimes games can take ages to develop, but yeah. Well, that was the design Bible then, ladies and gentlemen. We read the whole thing. But now, because my washing machine has just done its cycle, and because also it's getting towards lunchtime, I'm going to take a jump cut here. We'll continue on in a second. So, see you in a moment. Alright, back in. Ladies and gentlemen, just had my lunch. Nice bowl of chicken noodles. Did well. And I've emptied my washing machine. That's all hung up now on my era. Okay, let's continue on. So we just done the Game Design Bible. Ubi Pictures, 1994. The Rayman team was still a team of 2 when Ubisoft opened a new studio called Ubi Pictures, now called Ubisoft Montpellier, with Michel Ancel and Frederick Hood at the helm. This allowed the duo to start hiring more key team members. That was 1994. Moving to Jaguar, also 94, when it became apparent that the SNES CD-ROM system was not going to ship on time, or as it turned out at all, Ancel and team moved the game's development to the upcoming Atari Jaguar platform, which they felt could handle the ambitious 2D animations they were creating. Let's have a look at our pictures here. Oh, it's a video even.
C'était la 3DO de Panasonic ou la Jaguar d'Atari. Et nous, on voulait faire un jeu d'arcade en 60 FPS. Et malheureusement, la Panasonic ne sortait que des jeux qui semblaient être en 30 FPS maximum. Avec la Jaguar, je retrouvais le 68000, le processeur sur lequel j'avais travaillé sur Mega Drive et aussi sur Amiga. Du coup, j'étais un peu dans une zone de confort où je me disais, voilà, on peut sereinement avancer sur ce Rayman sur Atari, mais quelque part, on savait que c'était qu'une marche vers autre chose, parce que le débouché, la console, on ne voyait pas Atari dépasser Nintendo ou Sega en termes de vente, etc. Donc on attendait un petit peu, on temporisait, nous on avançait nos protos, on avançait nos choses, et du coup, dès on avait quand même du coup accès à des rendus graphiques en millions de couleurs, on délaissait les palettes, etc. Donc c'était quand même intéressant, ça nous faisait avancer dans la partie artistique de manière très importante.
Et en l'occurrence, la proposition de Rayman dès le départ était visuellement dingue, parce que la console phare de l'époque pour Yves Guillemot, la Jaguar, la Atari Jaguar, était une console qui pour la première fois pouvait afficher 65 000 couleurs, si je me rappelle bien, simultanément. Et Michel et toute l'équipe artistique voulaient en profiter, Ubi poussait pour qu'on en profite, et le jeu était visuellement très riche, très coloré. Trop même, certainement, si on le revoit maintenant, mais...
No, you can never have too many colours.
Une des forces du projet, c'était que justement, artistiquement, c'était très libre, c'était drôle, c'était cartoonish, comme on pourrait dire maintenant.
Yeah, true. It was very colourful, very cartoonish, and it was beautiful to look at, in all honesty. Yeah, okay. So, obviously there is an Atari Jaguar version of this game, actually included with this 30th anniversary edition. I mean, I don't think it's really that different to the PS1 version that we did there, but creating a character in 1994, Alexandra Stiebel brought her knowledge of the world of traditional cartoon animation to Rayman, working closely with Michel to further develop the characters. Is this another video? Yes. It's a nice big one.
Moi, je viens à la base du dessin animé. Je faisais du dessin animé avec Jacques Exertier. Et la boîte est fermée. Donc, on a commencé à éplucher les petites annonces. Il y avait écrit « Cherche animateur, actrice pour jeux vidéo ». Donc, je me suis dit « Jeux vidéo, je vais faire le temps ». Et puis, quand même, par curiosité. Michel me montre sur l'ordi ce qu'ils avaient commencé à faire avec Fred. Et puis, en fait, voilà, c'est à ce moment-là j'accroche. En très peu de temps, je suis assez impulsive. Donc, ça m'a plu. Donc, voilà, j'ai foncé là-dedans.
Quand j'ai intégré l'équipe, le projet était, je pense, au tout début du processus de définition graphique, artistique. Il y avait des bases qui étaient posées par un vieux prototype fait par Frédéric et Michel.
Michel avait créé on va dire, est-ce qu'on peut dire le Saturne?
So if you can hear me gulping tea in the background,
je suis pas sûre, mais
knocking my microphone with my mug.
Du personnage. Et voilà, notre collaboration a commencé parce qu'il voulait juste avec quand même à l'époque, du coup, les petites compétences que j'avais en graphisme et en animation, elle a aidé à développer ce premier jet qu'il avait jeté de ce personnage. Et donc Fred et lui avaient fait toute la trame du jeu. Et là, il m'a invité à faire des recherches sur tous les personnages du jeu.
Rayman n'a pas de bras et pas de jambes parce que c'est comme ça qu'il est né en quelque sorte. Au début, j'avais dessiné juste la tête du personnage. Ensuite, j'ai déroulé la suite, la petite bouche qui se déplace, les mains, le corps, les pieds. Et c'était une façon finalement de simplifier la création du personnage.
En fait, c'était très, globulaire. Ce qui est resté après, hein, mais encore plus. C'était, des yeux comme ça, un nez comme ça, un corps comme ça, et puis la fameuse peau de banane sur la tête. Ce qui est resté après, mais un peu plus lié, on va dire, un petit peu moins globulaire. Il n'y avait pas de bras, pas de jambes, parce que les capacités du moteur à l'époque, c'était très compliqué. En fait, c'était pas que c'était compliqué, c'était carrément impossible de faire des animations fluides avec les capacités de l'époque, avec des membres et tout ça.
So yeah, that confirms what was suspected earlier. It was the limitations of the hardware, hence why Rayman is limbless.
Capacité dans le moteur. Donc, l'idée de Michel, qui était quand même assez géniale à ce moment-là, c'était de faire donc en modulaire, et donc de faire sans bras, sans jambes. Et en fait, ça peut laisser perplexe au départ, mais ça marche.
Et donc, il fallait maintenant passer à la vitesse supérieure. Il fallait vraiment animer les petits modules, qui était quelque chose de nouveau. Je pense que c'était une expérimentation, donc pour l'animatrice, Alexandra en particulier. Comment découper les mouvements, comment minimiser le nombre de sprites pour tous les mouvements du jeu, pour chaque personnage. En particulier Rayman, qui était évidemment celui qui avait la gamme de mouvements la plus vaste. Il y avait déjà, je pense, grâce à Eric, Pélatan, Alexandra, il y avait déjà la direction artistique qui était assez bien posée.
Un jour, j'ai l'institut du coin là, qui me convoque. Elle m'appelle, donc mon fils à l'époque était petit quand même. Hein. C'était un maternel. Et elle me dit, vous savez, votre fils a une représentation de son corps qui n'est vraiment pas bonne. Évidemment, il s'était fait sans bras, sans jambes. Tu sais, il n'a pas fait le bonhomme tétard avec les bras et les jambes qui sortent de la tête. Et ça m'avait fait beaucoup rire.
That's actually a humorous little story.
Les enfants qui par la suite se sont dessinés sans bras et sans jambes, je ne sais pas. Mais en tout cas, le mien, oui.
Yeah, when you're a small kid and you're drawing a stick figure, you always do that, don't you? You just draw the head and then you just draw the arms coming out the sides of the head because you haven't figured out, no, your arms are not connected to your head, they're connected to your shoulders and your body. Alright, bringing animation to games, 1994. The advanced nature of the 2D animation made possible by Rayman meant that more experts from the world of animation could now directly apply their skills to video games. Looks like another video.
Je suis arrivé à l'époque de Rayman 1. Rayman, pour moi, c'est particulier parce que c'est avec ça que j'ai démarré dans le monde du jeu vidéo. Parce qu'avant, j'avais déjà travaillé 10 ans dans le dessin animé traditionnel. Et il se trouve qu'à cette époque-là, le jeu vidéo commençait à avoir des consoles suffisamment puissantes pour avoir besoin d'animateurs. On sortait de l'époque Tetris et Pac-Man, où savoir faire d'un animateur n'avait pas de valeur dans le jeu vidéo. C'était cool. Moi, je suis arrivé avec un savoir-faire que j'avais développé en 2D, enfin en 2D, en dessin animé, et qui amenait une vraie plus-value dans le milieu du jeu vidéo.
Mais c'est vrai qu'au début, c'est amusant de se dire, en faisant cette bouche finalement indépendante qui le fait parler, en la faisant glisser derrière la tête du personnage, j'ai réalisé qu'on pouvait faire de l'animation en déplaçant juste des morceaux du corps, en fait, en quelque sorte. Donc je me suis dit, tiens, je vais continuer avec le corps principal, les mains, et du coup, les mains, juste en les faisant déplacer comme ça, on arrive à avoir une impression de mouvement.
Ce que j'ai essayé d'apporter en rejoignant l'équipe, donc, c'est la connaissance de l'animation et aussi, j'ai fait pas mal de storyboard, une connaissance de comment est-ce qu'on raconte une histoire sur un support audiovisuel. C'était aussi le début de l'informatique. Dans le dessin animé, on travaillait sur papier, il n'y avait pas d'ordinateur, il y avait un ordinateur pour tout le studio qui nous servait à faire ce qu'on appelait des line tests, où tu allais avec ta pile de papier scanner chaque dessin, et puis tu regardais ce que donnait ton animation. Donc c'était un petit peu fastidieux. Parce que quand tu faisais, je sais pas, un plan, ça peut faire 60 dessins.
God,
Et puis,
it's been time
tu vas tester,
consuming
puis,
this.
ça marche pas, il faut que je change tel dessin, tel dessin, tel dessin. Tout ça, c'est un process qui est assez lent. Et le fait de passer dans des productions entièrement informatiques comme ça, enfin pour moi c'était super nouveau. Et la grosse nouveauté, c'est que quand tu fais une animation, bah, tu vois tout de suite instantanément ce que ça donne. Tu bouges un élément du personnage, tac, tu lances, tac, tu as ton animation. Donc ça donne une latitude qui est incroyable pour pouvoir se concentrer sur la composition, mais surtout le timing, parce que pour avoir des courbes bien fluides et dynamiques.
Il y avait déjà, je pense, une ligne assez claire du mouvement de Rayman, qui est primordial. Il y avait à peu près les métriques, les obstacles, les idées de plateforme qui se déplace, la prune. Et tout ça, c'était, je pense, déjà assez bien pensé.
À l'époque, on ne travaillait pas avec des squelettes, avec des bones comme maintenant. C'était que des sprites. Et donc, sur le Rayman 2D, il n'y avait pas de squelette. Chaque élément était techniquement indépendant des autres éléments. Et c'était un moyen, c'est la préhistoire, mais en tout cas, c'était une super idée parce que à l'époque, ça a permis quand même de donner l'illusion d'un personnage avec des membres et d'un personnage hyper vivant, alors qu'on n'avait encore pas la technologie de faire vraiment une hiérarchie dans les différents éléments. Tout ça, ça nous paraît ridicule maintenant, mais à l'époque, ça n'existait pas. Et donc, c'est vraiment c'est des gommettes, pas hiérarchisées entre elles, qui se déplaçaient comme ça. Et donc, c'était un mélange entre un choix artistique et une contrainte technique. C'est une contrainte technique, comme souvent c'est le cas, qui est devenue une force. Parce qu'en prenant en compte cette contrainte technique, ça a créé ce personnage assez unique.
Yeah, I said before, that idea of if you're an artist and you have a certain tool or set of tools that you use to create your art, how sometimes knowing the limitations of those tools can really prompt you to actually become quite creative and find ingenious little solutions in order to overcome those limitations. Creating a World, 1994. As the world of Rayman shifted from the original concept of inside a computer, the animation team conceptualised a wide variety of imaginative cartoon settings for the game's levels. I see Scott's on there. What's going to be this one? Oh, 6 minutes, this one. It's quite big.
C'était le tout début du projet. Il était le seul à travailler dessus, avec Frédéric Houd, que j'ai rencontré un petit peu plus tard. Il avait réalisé quelques tests, quelques essais, esquisses sur Rayman, le caractère, des décors. Il m'a parlé de ses idées, de son inspiration, et j'ai trouvé que tout avait l'air vraiment très fun et très excitant. Par la suite, quelques autres personnes nous ont rejoints et nous avons commencé à travailler tous ensemble avec Michel très rapidement.
Fred, Michel, moi, Eric, Sophie, la sœur Michel dont on n'a pas parlé, qui mettait en couleur. Olivier. On faisait du pixel ensemble pour faire des animations. Et après est arrivé Jean-Christophe.
Moi, j'ai été chargé de travailler sur des éléments de décor, principalement, des maps. Alors, je me souviens, je faisais à la fois des props, des éléments additionnels. Je me souviens d'une fougère, une fameuse fougère rouge j'étais très fier à l'époque et qu'on a retrouvée après dans d'autres épisodes. Et puis des maps comme la map des bonbons, des gâteaux. Donc voilà, je faisais des plateformes en nougat.
I didn't remember seeing the fork monster.
Le 6e ou le 7e dans l'équipe montpelliéraine en tout cas. Donc moi j'ai intégré l'équipe dans le petit noyau de l'époque en tant que dessinateur, surtout pour en quelque sorte retoucher les scans qui étaient faits de dessins faits par Alexandra Steible, qui était l'animatrice, et qui donc dessinait sur des grandes feuilles, format A4. Tous les sprites en quelque sorte, on les scannait, moi je les retouchais, je les mettais
was that the house where you saw the musician
avec
in the Blue Mountains?
Michel Ancel.
Alors, il faut savoir qu'à cette époque-là, Ubisoft à Montpellier n'existait pas. Nous n'avions pas de local professionnel dédié à la création de Rayman. Et en fait, nous travaillions chez les uns, chez les autres, dans la salle à manger de l'un, dans la cuisine de l'autre. Ça se passait comme ça, de façon très naturelle finalement.
Olivier, donc, il avait un petit appartement qui est le Reims, et j'allais chez lui, et on faisait ensemble les personnages au pixel près pour que ça puisse être animé. Donc ça, au niveau de l'échange, c'était des disquettes aussi.
Il faut remettre dans le contexte, c'était à l'époque où on pouvait faire des jeux vidéo avec très peu de personnes. Il y avait un côté très artisanal. Je me souviens que il y avait ce côté un peu bande de potes qui développe un jeu vidéo. Moi, j'ai rejoint le projet en cours. Et j'ai rencontré des personnalités très différentes, mais toutes passionnées. Il y avait une espèce de bonne humeur aussi, qui, je pense, a déteint sur le contenu du jeu. Voilà, il n'y avait pas une technologie très avancée à cette époque. Par contre, on utilisait tous les médias et médiums possibles, le dessin, papier, beaucoup, qu'on scannait. On retranscrivait ces dessins-là en pixels, puisqu'à l'époque, effectivement, on n'avait même pas encore de tablette graphique, c'est venu plus tard. Donc on faisait tout à la souris. C'était la débrouille, quoi. Je pense qu'il y avait beaucoup de système D, en fait, dans le développement de ce jeu.
Je pense avoir assuré au moins la moitié, mais peut-être les 3/4 des sprites des personnages et de quelques effets spéciaux et de quelques objets du décor. Mais très peu. Moi, je me concentrais vraiment sur les personnages, les big boss. Je me souviens du Scorpion en particulier, Mister Stone, là, le géant de pierre et d'autres. Le photographe, Rayman, le héros, le moustique et les autres.
Michel avait une idée assez précise de la direction artistique qu'il voulait obtenir, tout en laissant beaucoup de liberté d'inspiration aux gens qui travaillaient avec lui. Je dessinais des éléments de décor au crayon sur papier. Et ensuite, ces dessins étaient digitalisés et colorisés dans Photoshop.
That looks like an area that didn't make it into the full game there, with the cups and
le résultat final dans le jeu,
utensils.
la texture du crayon et du papier.
Je ne me souviens pas s'il y avait une pression particulière pour se mettre à jour et utiliser les dernières technologies 3D. Par contre, la patte graphique de Rayman à cette époque ne pouvait pas se retranscrire facilement en 3D. Il faut se souvenir qu'à l'époque, la 3D, ça restait quand même des éléments très simples, très géométriques, très anguleux.
True that.
Rayman, c'est tout le contraire.
Look at all the screenshots of 3D games from the early 90s.
Assez complexes aussi dans leur design graphique. Je pense que ça n'aurait rien donné en fait en 3D à l'époque, du moins.
Pour moi, là, si tu veux, à l'époque, c'était vraiment... moi, j'étais en fixette sur les enfants. C'était quelque chose pour les enfants, en fait. Donc, moi, je pense que j'ai amené quelque chose d'assez naïf, artistiquement parlant, que je ne renie pas, que j'ai aimé à l'époque. Parce qu'il y avait ce côté aussi bucolique, poétique de Rayman que j'aimais bien. Donc ça me plaisait de proposer ça aux enfants.
Quand j'ai vu à l'écran le Rayman, ce personnage, ces univers qu'il traversait, j'étais tout de suite séduit, quoi. Je trouve que c'est un univers qui emporte immédiatement, qui donne à banane, qui est très positif. Et je pense que c'est ça qui est séduisant et qui m'a plu et qui, je pense, a plu aussi à énormément de joueurs.
C'est vraiment une époque très, 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 très joyeuse parce que c'était avant que le jeu vidéo soit vraiment devenu une industrie. Donc c'est ça que ça m'évoque, c'est la liberté, c'est l'amusement. C'était très drôle. C'était une époque très drôle. Vraiment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, there were some concept arts in there of what looked like levels that probably didn't make it into the full version, like that one, like I said, with the cups and things like that. Unless that was originally going to be part of Candy Chateau or something. Rayman revealed 1994. Rayman made his public debut at the Summer International Consumer Electronics Show in Chicago, Illinois, with a game demo that was playable in Atari's booth at the Business Only Expo. Critics loved the expressive 2D animation. The Jaguar demonstration of Rayman in '94. This early in development version of Rayman for the Atari Jaguar is likely close to what Consumer Electronics Show attendees played that summer. It features one unfinished level with very different on-screen displays for health, lives and power. Oh, yeah, that is very different. Well, just basically a different UI system, in essence. I mean, graphically, it's very similar to the final product and what it really actually was. I've got to remember also I can use WASD to actually pan the image, as well as, well, it said, oh, there we go, plus and minus to zoom in and out. I've not actually been doing that in this section, but it's fine. Drop me a note, 1994. The set of 4 postcards featuring art of Rayman, Mama, the Clowns and Mr. Sax are dated 1994, meaning they were likely distributed long before the release of Rayman. So there's Rayman himself. Oh, and that's the back of the postcard, okay. Oh, there you go, there's, well, that's the pirate version of Space Mama, the first time you encounter her. Be Mine Valentine. Mama, she's big, bad and beautiful. Number 2 in the Rayman Postcard Collector Series. Hang on, what does this say? This say the world's newest superhero. Okay. Clowns. Cake level clowns, beware of their gifts. Sax. He plays a mean tune. I never realised they did some collector's edition postcards and all that. Very interesting. Okay. The team expands 1994. Ubisoft decided that Michel and the core Montpellier team would continue to develop the Atari Jaguar version, while it began to staff up a studio in Paris to support the game to other platforms. Eventually, well over 100 people were working on Rayman. Also, I'm well aware that after playing some of the videos in this, it causes the background sound to actually disappear in here. You'll have noticed by now.
Donc après sont arrivées les consoles nouvelle génération, Sony et Sega, qui passaient encore un cap en termes graphiques. Et comme notre jeu il était vraiment très graphique, on s'est dit ah ouais, on ne peut pas passer à côté de ça. On était parti de sprites qui étaient en 16 couleurs et on arrivait sur une PSX qui avait des sprites en millions de couleurs, qui avait un CD audio, donc on pouvait mettre de la musique qualité CD. Donc pour nous, c'était incroyable, alors qu'avant, c'était le chipset sonore qui jouait là-dessus.
Le pitch de Rayman 1, ce qui était impressionnant, c'était la beauté du jeu, la qualité graphique à la fois du personnage et de ses animations, et aussi des décors. C'était une présentation qui était
The scenery is actually slightly different in that sculpture version. Oh, where is that supposed to be?
Comment on fait le jeu? Pour donner une idée des timings qu'on envisageait, il pensait le terminer fin septembre, donc à la fin du mois. Et nous avons décidé à ce moment-là que Michel et Fred allaient continuer à développer la version Jaguar. Et pendant ce temps-là, nous, on allait s'occuper de toutes les autres versions.
Donc moi, j'ai avancé toute cette partie Jaguar principalement, et qui a servi en gros de modèle pour le portage de toutes les autres versions. Donc il y a eu une version maître qui a été faite sur PC, et qui s'inspirait de tout ce qui avait été fait sur Jaguar. Et après, ben voilà, les versions PSX, les versions Sega étaient adaptées par d'autres personnes dans Ubisoft.
Et il y en avait à l'époque 3. Il y avait la PlayStation qui était annoncée, la 32X de Sega, la Saturn de Sega, et autrement, il y avait le PC qui petit à petit progressait et donc allait normalement permettre aussi de pouvoir jouer des jeux de ce niveau-là. Donc du coup, il y avait une version Jaguar à Montpellier et 4 versions à Paris. À Paris, donc, ou à Montreuil, on a constitué une équipe complète, en fait un studio, pour créer le jeu. Donc, nous avons créé en même temps l'équipe, les outils, le moteur.
Old CRT computer.
Et donc, l'équipe est passée de 3 personnes début septembre à 150 personnes en juin, donc en 9 mois. Tout ce qui a été créé par Michel était vraiment magnifique. Par contre, c'était très exigeant parce qu'on poussait vraiment les machines à leurs limites. Et donc, il y avait régulièrement des difficultés entre les créateurs graphiques, donc Michel et son équipe à Montpellier, l'équipe de game design et l'équipe informatique. Parce qu'il ne faut pas oublier qu'on travaillait uniquement sur des machines non sorties, donc sur des kits de développement prototypes. Donc il y avait des bugs, qui avaient des problèmes à tous les niveaux. Et en plus, on ne pouvait pas partager ce qu'on faisait parce que les consoles n'étant pas sorties, on n'avait pas le droit de communiquer dessus, etc. Donc il a fallu réellement recruter une équipe assez forte pour pouvoir développer sur ces 4 machines simultanément. La 32X, Sega nous disait, oui, c'était une machine un petit peu de transition, c'est-à-dire une machine intermédiaire entre leur console 8 bits et la Saturn, qui était la console vraiment nouvelle génération. Et en fait, j'ai senti vers janvier-février qu'il
il n'avait pas l'air très actif sur cette console. Et donc, lors d'un salon, j'aurais posé la question, j'aurais dit, mais au fait, la 32X, vous en pensez quoi? Ils ont dit, bon, si vous n'avez pas assez de ressources pour faire 32X et Saturn, faites plutôt Saturn. Et là, j'ai appelé toute l'équipe, j'ai dit, on arrête 32X.
Okay. I was going to say as well, actually, the original PlayStation was a real leap forward, wasn't it, in console design? Obviously, I never had a PlayStation or a console of any kind when I was a kid, but it's interesting because, various videos I watched on YouTube, you look at consoles that were around at that time in the early 90s, things like the Jaguar, and preceding systems like, the SNES, things like that. Obviously, they were only ever sort of like 16 or 32 bits and whatever they were, limited colour palettes, that kind of thing. But then, of course, Sony PlayStation came along and really upped the ante and all that. Rayman Everywhere, 1995. At the Winter CES in January 1995, Ubisoft said that it would release Rayman not only for the Jaguar, but for a variety of new and upcoming consoles, Sega's 32X and Saturn, the 3DO and the PlayStation. Next video, it's another 6-minuter.
Il y a une anecdote intéressante qui est que, en fait, Rayman a été créé par une équipe japonaise et une équipe française. Tomoko Matsuoka, qui était la responsable du Japon à l'époque, a créé un studio au Japon qui a récupéré l'équipe de développement de Sony, qui ne les envoyait qu'à des sociétés japonaises et qui a envoyé quelques kits de développement à Paris à nos équipes de création. Et c'est de cette façon que le jeu a pu être créé sur la PlayStation en même temps que les sociétés japonaises, et donc qui lui a permis d'arriver tôt. Et ce qui a surpris l'ensemble de la profession, puisque normalement, les Américains ou les Européens n'avaient les kits que beaucoup plus tard.
C'est vrai que sur le développement de Rayman 1, on a été un peu, entre guillemets, baladé par l'histoire du jeu vidéo et l'histoire entre Nintendo et Sony, avec Sony qui devait collaborer donc sur le CD de la Super Nintendo et qui a finalement fait sa propre console. Et donc, nous, on a migré sans trop le savoir. On a été un peu ballotté dans cette histoire-là, dont on n'avait pas du tout idée. Hein, on ne savait pas du tout.
On a choisi les meilleures vagues.
Même Nintendo ne savait pas. Et à un moment, c'est Sony qui arrive en disant voilà notre console, on va révolutionner le jeu vidéo. Et donc, finalement, petit à petit, on s'est retrouvé sur cette console-là. Donc, on a quitté la notion de CD, Nintendo CD, pour retrouver la console CD, mais de Sony. C'est un peu les grands mouvements de l'histoire, finalement, qu'on a réussi à suivre avec pas mal de chance.
Dans la catégorie test, il y a eu un autre événement assez important, c'est que donc le jeu était terminé, il était en phase finale de test et d'approbation par Sony. Et le 15 juin, Michel décide de changer toute la manière toute la gestion des couleurs du jeu. C'est-à-dire que tout d'un coup, il a dit oui, en fait, on avait une palette de 256 couleurs. C'est pas bien, en fait. On va faire une palette de 16 couleurs pour chaque objet. Et du coup, il a décidé de refaire tous les objets du jeu, toutes les parties, donc les parties du corps, de Rayman, de tous les objets du jeu, en palette de 16 bits. Mais au niveau du jeu et de l'équipe, tout d'un coup, il fallait tout refaire, en fait. Donc, le jeu qui était presque approuvé, tout d'un coup, on envoie une version à Sony en disant on a changé la gestion des couleurs. Ils ont dit non mais vous êtes complètement fous, enfin c'est pas possible de faire ça juste là, on est en phase finale et en plus il fallait qu'on ait terminé fin juin, même avant fin juin, parce que sinon on ne pourrait pas être au lancement de la console. Donc on avait vraiment une contrainte de temps qui était vraiment importante. J'ai toujours retenu ce qu'ils ont dit. Ils ont dit non, mais là c'est vraiment pas possible. Enfin bon, c'est le jeu qui compte. Les informaticiens ont réussi à modifier tout le programme pour qu'il accepte les couleurs, les palettes de 16 bits. Et les testeurs ont réussi à tout
really leaving it down to the line, weren't they?
Pour qu'on envoie en approuvant le 3 juillet, et Sony a mis 3 jours à l'approuver. La dernière version. Et du coup, il était à l'heure pour sortir au lancement de la PlayStation.
Les grands éditeurs et bien sûr les grands fabricants à l'époque, c'était Sega et Nintendo, qui avaient la majorité du marché. Donc en arrivant sur la PlayStation, on est arrivé avec peu de jeux disponibles. Il y avait 9 jeux à la sortie. Et donc Rayman était un des 9 jeux. Donc ça permettait d'être un des jeux que tout le monde devait jouer. Alors que quand on arrive sur une machine qui existe et qui a beaucoup de jeux, on a moins de chances de surprendre. Là,
Yeah, that makes
la
sense.
sortie de Rayman sur cette machine, la PlayStation, permettait d'être unique en fait dans le genre.
It was lucky to be in the right
plateforme.
place at the right
Parce qu'il y
time
avait très
then.
peu de Japonais qui avaient développé sur la PlayStation à son lancement. En arrivant avec le jour J du lancement de la PlayStation, on a eu la possibilité d'avoir tout le marketing de lancement de la machine et donc des jeux qui existaient sur cette machine. Donc ça a permis de faire connaître Rayman à l'ensemble du monde parce que c'était un des meilleurs jeux de la machine au lancement.
On a une petite anecdote quand même, dont je me rappellerai tout le temps. C'est que une des premières présentations de Rayman au grand public, ça s'est passé à l'ECTS à Londres. Et il y avait Sony qui présentait la PlayStation à cette époque-là, avec Toshinden, avec Ridge Racer, avec tous ces jeux. Et nous, on était déjà sur PlayStation. On avait la version PlayStation, en fait. Et donc, on va à Londres, à ce moment-là, pour... nous, on présente le jeu sur le stand d'Ubisoft à l'ECTS. Et puis après, on va sur le stand Sony et il n'y a pas Rayman. Et en fait, on nous explique que c'est fini la 2D, les gars. Rayman ne sort pas encore, il n'est pas sorti, il va sortir. On va sur le stand Sony, il n'y a pas Rayman, il y avait tous les jeux 3D, il y avait Destruction Derby, il y avait tous les jeux de lancement. Et Sony ne voulait surtout pas qu'il y ait de jeux 2D, parce que la révolution, c'était la 3D. Et ce qui est marrant, c'est de savoir que le jeu le plus vendu sur PlayStation 1, c'est Rayman.
Yeah,
En Angleterre.
apparently it was.
Donc,
Yeah, here in the UK, back in the day.
Non, mais c'est fini. Et
Original
si on avait dit à
Rayman,
ces gens-là,
top selling game
ce
on the
jour-là,
PlayStation.
Le jeu le plus vendu sur la console que vous êtes en train de lancer, la PlayStation en Angleterre, ce sera celui-là. Personne ne nous aurait cru, quoi. Enfin, les gens, ils auraient rigolé, quoi, en disant mais regardez, là c'est la 3D, maintenant c'est fini, vous êtes des dinosaures, quoi. C'est beau. C'est beau. C'est beau.
That's a good, yeah. I mean, that was a good humorous little anecdote. Eye-popping graphics 1995. A June 1995 advertisement for Rayman touted the game's 60 FPS animation and large colour palette, but still listed the game as coming to the Jaguar. Oh, here we go. Look at this old advert here. 60 frames of animation per second, 50 different characters, friends and foes. I don't know what that image is of, though, where it says 50 different characters, friends and foes. Hold on, let me see if I can zoom in on it. Oop, going the wrong way, the controls are slightly inverted. I mean, it looks like that takes place in the Cave of Scots, but I don't remember the guy who looks like a weird furnace with eyes, or whatever he is. I mean, obviously that's Banland there. 60 levels in 6 unique worlds. 65,000 colours. Discover yourself for yourself, the eye-popping graphics and the awesome gameplay of Rayman. More than just a platform game, Rayman is a full-scale adventure. Move and fight with an amazing variety of special powers, movements and weapons. Combine and accumulate your skills as you go, so you can successfully face newer and harder challenges. Move from one level to the next, then back again, as you navigate your way through hidden passages, traps and unexpected combats. Face enemies that learn your style and fight back intelligently. I mean, saying that they fight back intelligently is an optimistic way of putting it, but they sort of managed to do that with some of the enemies. How, some of them react to your ability to crouch or react to your fist when you throw it and things like that. Also, that picture of Scops, come to think of it, he's in a forest there, not a cave. That's really curious. Obviously these are old screenshots, probably from an early version of the game before the final release. So naturally they'll have used screenshots of things that probably didn't make it into the final release. Like that one there with the trumpets. There's one of those hands there with a drumstick on it, but I don't remember seeing that at any point. It does look like the Allegro Presto level, but I don't remember there being a bit with the that looks specifically like that. How very strange, yeah. Okay, next area then, I guess, ladies and gentlemen. Rayman the PlayStation, 1995. The first edition of Rayman to be released was the PlayStation version, which became available in early September 1995, alongside the US and European releases of the console itself. So yeah, PlayStation was the OG Rayman 1 then, in a manner of speaking, in that case. Because, obviously I started this series playing the MS-DOS version, But then eventually I changed that because I was sort of thinking, actually, should I be playing that version or should I be playing the OG PS version? Rayman has pushed the technology envelope to the limit. This platform game is unlike anything you've seen or played before. 65,000 eye-popping colours, 60 frames per second, and up to 4 independently scrolling backdrops, all of which pull you into the screen and right into Rayman's outrageous worlds. Yeah, they used sort of parallaxing, didn't they? To have sort of background scrolling by at different rates to give that sense of 3D depth in the worlds. Over 50 different characters that will freak you out, crack you up, and give you the challenge of a lifetime. Amazing powers which develop and accumulate as you progress through the game's 70 different levels. Ooh, we've gone up to 70 levels now, ladies and gents. Not the 60 that it mentioned before. 70 now. To help you ward off enemies and avoid some of the strangest encounters. Sorry, I've got a bit of gas coming in with my throat then. 6 mind-boggling bizarre worlds complete with different climates and jam-packed with different hidden passages and traps leading to unexpected combats and rewards. All this in CD quality sound with over 200 different sound effects. Welcome to the next generation. I thought for a second then I misread the disclaimer down the bottom right there. It said kids to adults, but for a moment I misread that saying not suitable for all ages. Now these level screenshots look a bit more like what we actually saw. I mean, I remember that freaking frustrating bit there. We had to cut the bloody ropes. Obviously that's Banland. That looks much more akin to the actual Cave of Scots boss fight. And you have the old Dream Forest up there at the very top, or the Pink Plant Woods, whatever it was called. Cool. Rayman on the Jaguar, 1995. While full-scale development of Rayman had originally started on the Jaguar, this version was not released until after the PlayStation 1. It lacked the animated video sequences that had been added to the CD-ROM versions of the game, and other features and levels worked differently. So there's your cover, ladies and gentlemen. That's interesting. Oh, that's got the Scops image then, of Scops in a forest. Did they... well, maybe then for different console versions, did they change the design of certain levels? Did they move things around? Discover the world of Rayman, where action, challenge and technology await you. Hold on, let me zoom in a bit so you can actually see what I'm reading. Unique powers that develop and accumulate as you advance through the game. Challenging non-linear gameplay with 60 different levels and 6 amazing worlds. We've gone back to 60 levels. Eye-popping animations using 65,000 colours with 60 frames per second. They were really emphasising the 65,000 colours and 60 frames a second, weren't they? Over 50 different characters, including enemies who learn your playing style and fight back with skill. God. You know, I miss the days of the 90s and the 2000s, whenever you buy a physical copy of a game and it would come with a big chunky manual for you to read. Here's the DOS version, okay. A version of Rayman for personal computers launched in Europe in late 1995 and came to the US and Japan in 1996. This version would be especially notable due to all the additional content that was later released. Yes, the level packs, which, to be honest, I am interested in playing. Now, I don't think we'll do it as a main series, but we'll do it as a bonus series, perhaps, on the channel, something that I release on occasion. So here you go. That's the cover there. Captivating, mind-bending and addictive. One trip and you're hooked. That is true. You know, as frustrating as the original Rayman was for me to play at times, it did keep me coming back. I can't deny that. Right, let's have a look at these screenshots here. Looks like we got... Is that the Blue Mountains up there? Then we got Picture City. Obviously that's Gong Heights there. Enter the challenging, mind-altering world of Rayman and suddenly reality seems far too tame. Free your mind as Rayman takes you on an arduous adventure through a complex realm of psychedelic landscapes, absurd characters, formidable opponents and uncharted levels of dementia. You know, I never thought I'd see a game trying to sell itself by saying, hey, we're going to give you dementia. You'll experience a heightened sense of visual awareness. Man, they're really friggin' selling this game as something else, aren't they? Well, they're trying to sell this game like it's a drug trip or something. You'll hear strange and beautiful sounds, endless legions of bizarre creatures will be out to get you. One trip into Rayman's kaleidoscopic domain, and you'll be addicted. Incredibly intense visuals, up to 70 surrealistic levels. We're back to 70 again. Over 50 demented characters. Challenging, mind-expanding platform game. Exhilarating CD-quality sound effects and music. Menacing opponents learn your playing style to defeat you. Rayman, the most twisted state of mind you can obtain without a prescription. They're selling it like it's a drug. Come have an acid trip with the original Rayman, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man. What have we got next? A breakthrough year, 1996. In an April 1996 press release, Ubisoft announced that the blockbuster success of Rayman had led the company to a flourishing US business. Thanks to Rayman, Ubisoft had truly entered the global gaming world. Oh, look at this here. Company contact. Interesting. Let me get a bit of a zoom in here. For immediate release, blockbuster video game creates breathtaking year in US for Europe's Ubisoft Entertainment. Larkspur, CA, California, April 25th, 1996, Ubisoft Entertainment, a major software publishing and distribution power in Europe, has parlayed its success overseas into a flourishing US business centered around unique family-oriented entertainment and educational products. Yeah, actually, educational products. In case anyone didn't know, isn't there a version of Rayman? It's like Rayman, what's it called? There's basically like an educational version of Rayman 1, where it's basically Rayman 1, but you also have to do mathematical sums or something, just to make the game even more frustrating. With offices in the US since 1991, Ubisoft had a breakthrough $6 million year in North America in 1995, based largely on the blockbuster success of Rayman, a cross-generational video game featuring a comical, bug-eyed goofball superhero. The company has sold a remarkable 150,000 copies of Rayman since its US debut in October 1995, and 500,000 units worldwide, attracting consumers of all ages with a non-violent storyline, a cast of more than 60 bizarre characters, and challenging gameplay that includes hidden passages, magical powers, and enemies who adapt to the player's actions. Rayman was awarded Best Character, Best Music and Best Animation in the 1996 Video Game Buyer's Guide, Best Jaguar Game of the Year in Game Players, and Parents' Choice Award winner, as well as Game of the Month in Electronic Gaming Monthly for the Sony PlayStation version. Also new to the Ubisoft line in 1995 was Kieko and the Lost Knight, the first title in a series of children's interactive CD-ROM adventures which foster an appreciation for different cultures, with fables from various countries and playability in 5 languages. Kieko was awarded Best Character at the Kids' Choice Award 1995 Children's Multimedia Expo, and was a 1995 New Media InVision Award finalist for Technical/Creative Excellence and Best Audio/Soundtrack. I've never heard of Kieko and the Lost Knight. Maybe I'll have to Google that in a bit. Is it actually a game, or is that more like just an interactive experience kind of thing? I don't know. The stage is now set for a flurry of publishing activity in 1996 that is expected to increase the company's US product offerings to 20 titles. New releases will include a Rayman sequel and Rayman Numbers and Letters, designed with educators to be an entertaining method for kids to practice spelling, math and reading. 2 new interactive stories and adventures will also be released, focusing on adventures in the Arctic Circle with Paiuta and the Ice Guard, and the explorations of Voldo, a 15th century Portuguese boy. That is insane. I've never heard of some of these things. I wonder if they were ever released. Do these things actually exist? And if so, they're probably a real sort of nostalgia blast for some people. But yeah, they mentioned a Rayman sequel, because they're definitely, between this and 1999, when the actual Rayman 2 were released, there were cancelled Rayman sequels. If you look, originally Rayman 2 was actually originally going to be a 2D game in the same vein as Rayman 1, but then they eventually decided, no, we've got to make the leap to 3D and all that. On the interactive music front, let me just zoom in again. Oh, there we go. Ubisoft plans to release music teaching products for the entire family, including the plugged-in interactive music instruction series and Adventures in Music, a children's musical adventure which will include a free recorder and teach the basics of music theory through 40 well-known songs from around the world. If there is one musical instrument that I look back on and think, man, that must have been so annoying for parents, it must have been the recorder. I feel like the recorder is the first wind instrument that children are introduced to in primary school, and it probably drives parents mad and all that. Classic Rock Guitar Volume 1, the first title in the Plugged-In series, teaches guitar through 8 classic songs made famous by legendary artists such as Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. With over 80 lessons, 180 exercises and video synced with scrolling notation, chords and lyrics, the Plugged-In series presents a teaching method geared to the intermediate player that rivals private instruction. The second volume in the series, Classic Rock Guitar Volume 2, will feature songs by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. On the gaming front, in addition to Rayman 2, Ubisoft will be releasing Street Racer Deluxe as well as Pod. I did a 5-episode series on Pod, the Gold Edition, here on the channel. A futuristic racing game set to take the market by storm. Yeah, Pod was 1997. Yeah, if you're interested in seeing Pod was released, and I remember it vaguely from my childhood, and I did a 5-episode series on it after I found the Gold Edition on GOG. So yeah, go and search for that on my channel. You should be able to find it quite easily. This out-of-this-world racing adventure will be uncovered during E3 and will feature super realistic graphics. Don't know about that, but yeah, line-on-line modem network options, real-time 3D multiplayer gaming, and a vast number of options allowing the player to make all the decisions. The key to our strategy is to create a strong brand image through the use of series-related titles, said Laurent Detoc, General Manager of Ubisoft's US operations. Each series has been carefully crafted to have broad appeal and expandability, enabling us to ride on the success of previous titles every time we introduce a new title. Another strategic decision has been to develop game titles on multiple platforms for maximum market penetration. Rayman, for example, has been released on next-generation platforms including Sony PlayStation, Sega Saturn, Atari Jaguar, as well as CD-ROM for Windows. Founded in 1986 in France, Ubisoft has annual worldwide revenues of $50 million. The software division distributes 35% of all entertainment software to the French market, including titles by US software giants such as LucasArts, Broderbund, and the Discovery Channel. The company entered the software development arena in 1991, striving for titles with a family flavour and an international appeal. In addition to its US offices in California and its headquarters in France, Ubisoft has offices in Japan, Germany, Spain, Italy, England, and Shanghai. Ubisoft will be providing product demonstrations on current and upcoming titles at E3, booth 9318 South Hall, May 16th to 18th at the Los Angeles Convention Center. For more information, contact blah blah blah. Wow. E3 at Los Angeles Convention Center in 1996 or whenever this letter was shown. Wow. I wonder if you can find old camera footage of that. Who knows? Rayman 2, the early version. Speaking of, when it was in 2D, 1997, after the release of the first Rayman, the team began work on a 2D sequel titled Rayman 2. This version ultimately gave way to a fully 3D sequel called Rayman 2, The Great Escape. As a bonus, one level of the 2D prototype was hidden deep inside that game. Was it? Wait.
Hey, you!
There's a level of the original Rayman 2 2D prototype hidden inside actual Rayman 2 The Great Escape? What, on all consoles and all platforms, or is that in certain versions? Hang on, wait, we've got to find out more about this. Also, yeah, you're about to probably see art from the original 2D concept of Rayman 2, which I have seen before, and yeah, it looks very similar to this.
On s'entendait bien avec Michel, donc on s'est dit, allez bingo, on continue, on propose autre chose. Donc à l'époque, on s'est dit, tiens, on va faire une suite, parce que c'était le plus naturel. On avait proposé des choses, on les avait présentées à un E3, et là, c'était l'E3 où Sony présentait Crash Bandicoot, et c'était la claque 3D quelque part. Et on est resté scotché, et du coup, on est revenu de l'E3, on s'est dit... laisse tomber, il faut passer à la 3D.
Ah, okay.
Alors, il faut savoir que Rayman,
So it was Crash Bandicoot that forced Rayman to go 3D.
Puis, après que Rayman soit sorti, il y a eu l'arrivée de la 3D qui a permis d'aller encore plus loin. Et c'est pour ça qu'on a eu Rayman 2D, puis après Rayman 3D, mais on est passé, avant de passer en Rayman 3D, on est passé par un autre jeu qui devait utiliser des machines assez performantes, parce que pour faire de la 3D sur les machines de l'époque, il fallait des machines puissantes.
C'est vrai que Rayman 1, c'est, on va dire, la fin du cycle des jeux 2D. Quand on commence Rayman 2 2D, on est persuadé que ça va aller au bout, sachant que dans cette version Rayman 2 2D, on avait un peu utilisé la technique de... Donkey Kong Country sur Super Nintendo, où en fait c'était des rendus 3D.
Here you are, this is what it looked like.
Voilà, on utilisait l'ordinateur en gros pour dessiner les personnages qui étaient utilisés après en 2D.
À la fin de Rayman 1, on a commencé à faire un prototype de Rayman 2 en pseudo 2D, c'est-à-dire un jeu sur des plans, mais plusieurs plans. Donc un premier plan avec des plateformes, et un deuxième plan un peu plus loin où vous pouvez envoyer le joueur d'un plan à l'autre et le faire revenir à sa demande. Et pour
having him go between planes. Rayman Origins sort of did that, didn't it?
Logiciel de modélisation 3D, donc 3D Studio à l'époque, qui est devenu 3ds Max, pour faire il y avait des dinosaures cybernetiques des sortes de robots dinosaures, des robots tout en métal, un peu comme les pirates de Rayman 2, Great Escape.
So I assume at
Dans
this
l'idée de
point,
les intégrer,
the story
donc,
was
comme
not
des sprites, eux aussi, en 2D,
of Rayman's
dans
world
un
being
jeu
taken over by the
resté
pirates
en 2D, mais avec possibilité de changer
as
de
it
plan.
became in
Et c'est quelque chose
the actual
qu'on va
Rayman 2.
retrouver plus tard dans
Oh yeah,
Rayman
here,
Legends,
look, see?
où on joue
Rayman
sur-
Legends, yeah, see, look, because Rayman Legends and
Et puis
Origins
arrive
did that.
Crash Bandicoot, Mario 64, vraiment des révolutions. Et à ce moment-là, il y a une décision claire de la part d'Yves Guillemot qui est de passer nous aussi sur la 3D. Ça devient l'évidence.
On a vu que la 3D, elle, allait offrir tellement de possibilités. À cette époque-là, il y a eu aussi Mario 64, il y a eu la Nintendo 64 qui a tout bouleversé. Et ça devenait évident de faire une suite à Rayman en 3D, en élargissant l'univers, l'exploration, etc.
C'était un peu périlleux, c'était un peu laborieux de passer à la 3D, surtout que la première 3D a été assez limitée quand même. Ça donnait des contraintes particulières. Mais passer Rayman en 3D avec peu de moyens, c'est compliqué parce qu'il y a beaucoup de rondeur. Donc là, à l'époque, on avait quelques polygones par personnage.
Limited polygon count.
Rayman en origami, par exemple.
Computer, why are
Et
you
donc,
lagging a
on a
bit during this?
travaillé sur la 3D, comment l'appréhender, quelle qualité graphique on pouvait avoir, etc. Parce que c'était quand même une 3D
Oh, there it
assez
is.
brute, mais c'était de la 3D, donc c'était...
There is a playthrough of Rayman 2 on my channel if you want to watch it.
Sur maintenant, comment on va passer en 3D. Et nous, on se dit, et là, je pense que c'est un pari d'Ubisoft qui se dit, mais en fait, sur PC, la 3D est bien plus évoluée que sur PlayStation. Il y a les cartes graphiques Nvidia qui arrivent, les premières, les GeForce, etc., qui étaient vraiment exceptionnelles. Le pari d'Ubisoft, c'est la 3D, ça va être sur PC. Et donc, on commence à travailler un moteur 3D PC, très haute définition, où là, Ubisoft était en avance même, je dirais, sur ce qu'on pouvait faire en 3D. Et on s'est dit, mais nous, en fait, on va montrer à Ubisoft qu'on peut travailler avec très peu d'ingénieurs, très peu d'artistes, et on peut être ultra efficace. Et donc, on a fait une sorte de scission, et on a créé le proto de Rayman 2. Donc, on a créé un proto jouable, qui était vraiment beau, qui était ultra fluide, qui avait le contrôle de Mario 64. Donc on s'était mis à la page sur l'aspect contrôle, travail GPP, donc travail de gameplay programming. On avait vraiment un jeu qui était moderne et on avait changé les outils pour qu'il soit redevenu rapide.
That's interesting though. Sorry, I just made a weird noise then when I drew my breath in. That was really interesting though because when you look at Rayman 2, there are certain levels in it where you look at the graphical vibe, you can definitely see sort of the similarity to some of the levels in Rayman 1 in terms of the colours and some of the visuals. But at the same time, Rayman 2 is always fascinating because whereas Rayman 1 had a very cartoony vibe, Rayman 2, it still had that element of whimsy to it, but it sort of took it in a more darker direction with the whole story about the pirates taking over Rayman's world and enslaving everyone. Rayman, the Game Boy Color version in the year 2000, although it's simply titled Rayman, this Game Boy Color title is actually a unique game with totally different levels and gameplay. One of its main designers was David Soliani, who would go on to be the creative director of the Mario plus Rabbids series. Oh yes, the bloody Rabbids. We don't talk about them that often on this channel. I remember back in the day, mid-2000s, after the absolute enjoyment I'd had with Rayman 3. And then, of course, Ubisoft started showing off that they were working on a new Rayman game. And it was going to have the Rabbids in it. It was going to be, pretty conventional Rayman platformer with beat-em-up mechanics. Probably really engineered because the Nintendo Wii was due to be released, and so that's what they were primarily making it for. And I thought, that's kind of a fun Rayman game. And then partway through its development, it turned into a minigame collection, and I just completely lost interest in it. And to this day, I have no real interest in playing the Rabbids games. Partly because everything I've seen of the Rabbids, they're basically just annoying to me, which I guess, it's meant to be the idea, but still. Let's have a look at these screens here for the cover of the Game Boy version. There's your cover there. Rayman. Based on the million-selling smash hit, Rayman's world is invaded by the evil Mr. Dark, who captures the tunes, the lights of the universe. Darkness fills the earth and wicked monsters spawn everywhere. Rayman must race and battle across 9 worlds and 30 levels to free his friends, Destroy Mr. Dark and restore harmony to the world. Exclusive new bonus level and world map. Accumulate amazing skills. Run, jump, fly with helicopter hair, punch and grab with magic fist. Break 38 cages to free the toons and battle 20 different unique enemies. Oh, yeah, so it does have a very different graphical style, which obviously makes sense because, you know, Game Boy was a handheld console. It was limited in what it could actually do. Curious. You know, never had a Game Boy when I was a kid. Nothing like that. Rayman Advance in 2001. This Game Boy Advance version of Rayman is based on the original game, although many changes were made to the gameplay to decrease the difficulty, such as giving Rayman more health and making boss characters easier to defeat. Well, nice to see that they did eventually address the balance of the difficulty. Unleash the 32-bit universe of Rayman. Wield untold powers even against Mr. Dark to restore Rayman's world. Classic Rayman action, run, leap, climb, swing and helicopter like only the world's favourite limbless hero can. Epic realms, 60 levels of surreal worlds, loaded with fierce creatures and wild power-ups. So that does look much more akin to the other versions of the original Rayman, albeit a bit more zoomed in, because it wasn't already too zoomed in in the other versions, but sure. Rayman Goes PDA 2001. In September 2001, the unique Game Boy Color game was also released for personal digital assistant platforms like the Palm and the Pocket PC, which were popular in the years before smartphones. Oh my god, I forgot PDAs were ever a thing. Jeezums. Oh boy, do you remember the days of PDA, ladies and gentlemen? Good lord. Yeah, they eventually got replaced by smartphones, basically. Rayman Classic 2016, another version of the original Rayman game, was released for iOS and Android in 2016. In addition to an easy mode, Rayman Classic also offered a hard mode with 1 life and 0 continues. Are you joking? Holy shit. I mean, at least that's optional, but yes. Well, that's just a picture from Allegro Presto by the looks of it. Rayman Rescored 2025. Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends composer Christophe Herral discusses creating the new music for this 30th anniversary release of Rayman, paying homage to original composer Remy Gazelle, 1966-2019. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of discussions online from people who are mad, because apparently the OST in this 30th anniversary edition is not entirely the same as the OST from the original Rayman, and apparently a lot of people just are absolutely bitching online about how that's not the case, which I get on one level. It kind of sucks that they didn't include the original OST, but apparently, I don't know, from some of my reading, the reason for that is because there have been licensing issues around certain tracks, because the thing is, apparently certain individuals who maybe were part of Ubisoft back when they were originally designing Rayman maybe then left eventually, and they technically had some of the rights to certain elements of the OST, and it might just be the case that Ubisoft wasn't able to get permission to reuse them or readapt them, which makes sense, because that's the thing, like, you'd think Ubisoft, being the creators of Rayman, they would have the licensing rights to pretty much everything to do with it, but I don't think that's the way it works in a lot of different forms of media. For example, I know in certain television, for example, certain producers might own certain rights to particular things that are featured in certain TV series, just as an analogy. I mean, I think the big analogy is actually 1960s Doctor Who, because obviously everyone knows the Daleks, which are iconic in Doctor Who as his original, arch enemy. But technically, a lot of the rights to the Daleks are not owned by the BBC. They're owned by the estate of the guy who originally designed them. So whenever they use Daleks in Doctor Who today, they have to have the permission of the estate of the guy who designed them, Terry Nation or whatever he was called. So that's an analogy from the TV world, but I guess something similar might have applied here. Oh wait, I didn't actually even watch this video. What am I doing? I should watch this.
Je m'appelle Christophe Herral et j'ai commencé la musique parce que je voulais faire du ski. Et hélas, habitant à côté de Palavas-les-Flots, c'est pas l'endroit le plus merveilleux pour apprendre à faire du ski. Donc, je me suis mis à fond dans l'étude de la musique. J'ai travaillé sur la composition, notamment en prenant des cours de guitare avec un des guitaristes qui avait joué sur le premier Rayman, Pascal Coriu. On prenait des cours tous les deux avec un prof et ce prof donnait aussi des cours d'harmonie. Et puis l'harmonie me plaisait beaucoup et j'ai délaissé la guitare pour véritablement me plonger dans l'écriture musicale. Ce qui me semblait être intéressant dans la musique de jeux vidéo et qu'on n'avait pas dans la musique entre guillemets d'un support linéaire, c'était les outils. Ces outils, c'était les outils d'intégration de la musique. Et pour moi, c'était comme si on ouvrait la porte dans un nouvel univers. Et ce que j'aime bien, c'est travailler en binôme avec un intégrateur. Parce que lui, il a un regard sur mes notes et moi, j'ai un regard sur son intégration. Et je pense que c'est quelque chose qui peut être chaque fois positif parce que ça amène le regard de l'un sur l'autre. J'ai rencontré Rémi Gazelle parce que Michel me l'avait présenté quand je travaillait sur Beyond Good and Evil. Et donc, je connaissais bien évidemment, un peu comme tout le monde, Rayman, mais j'ai beaucoup apprécié le personnage qui était Rémi.
Oui, alors la bande originale de Rayman 1, c'est une rencontre avec Rémi Gazelle. Je faisais de la musique et on avait une salle dans laquelle on se réunissait. Et puis, naturellement, un jour, je lui ai dit, mais Rémi, je vois que tu composes, tu es le compositeur de ton groupe, là. Est-ce que ça t'intéresserait de faire des musiques pour un jeu vidéo? Déjà, il a été hyper enthousiaste. C'est quelqu'un de... Rémi, c'était le touche-à-tout, quoi. Il est vraiment toujours ouvert, toujours yes man. Et donc, je me suis retrouvé un jour chez lui. Alors, c'était un personnage, puisque c'était des serpents vivants dans sa maison, des placards remplis de robes arrangées. C'était un univers, ça allait parfaitement avec le monde de Rayman, quoi. C'était le monde de Rémi. Moi, j'ai eu la chance de voir vraiment la composition des musiques se faire presque en live, en fait, avec Rémi.
Il a un sens inné de la mélodie. Il y a des mélodies qui restent en tête et une fantaisie, en fait. Mais là, il avait créé une espèce d'environnement sonore qui était très riche, en fait, comme une forêt luxuriante. De toute façon, Rémi était toujours très enthousiaste, et spécialement par rapport à la création de ce jeu, quoi.
La musique de Rayman est quelque chose qui a mis des jalons dans ma vie par rapport au jeu. Et si elle me tient à cœur, c'est parce qu'en fait, j'ai joué avec Rémi les musiques de Rayman. Et lui a joué les musiques de Rayman Origins et de Rayman Legends. Et donc, cette espèce de passation de relais, je ne sais pas comment on pourra appeler ça, en tout cas d'une tendresse infinie, ça c'est sûr. C'est quelque chose qui est hyper important pour moi, parce qu'il y avait cette entente humaine de quelqu'un qui a fait une musique qui a marqué les esprits, et puis quelqu'un qui reprenait la suite de Rayman avec Origins et puis après avec Legends et qui était apprécié par Rémi. Donc j'avais comme une sorte de tampon, c'était validé par Rémi. Pour la musique de Rayman 1, il a fallu réécrire des musiques. Bon, ça, je m'en suis chargé. Et pour tout le travail des thèmes de Rémi, je suis complètement dans le respect. J'aimerais pouvoir arriver à le ressortir de ses enregistrements pour pouvoir jouer avec lui. C'est plus qu'un hommage, en fait. Je veux surtout pas abîmer quoi que ce soit dans sa thématique. Et je sais que j'ai toujours ce coup de tampon de validation par Rémi, parce qu'il avait confiance en moi, mais il a confiance en moi. Je ne sais pas où il est, mais il a confiance en moi. Et je vais faire tout mon possible pour rester dans l'esprit qu'il a voulu donner, en mettant une touche, bien évidemment, un peu personnelle. Un peu. Le morceau qui peut-être est le morceau qui me touche le plus, et donc qui pourrait être mon préféré, c'est le magicien, parce que je l'ai joué avec Rémi. On l'a joué plusieurs fois. Moi, personnellement, je trouve ce morceau super. J'aimerais que cet hommage au magicien de Rémi reste un morceau, entre guillemets, pas d'anthologie, mais j'aimerais qu'il soit sur mon piédestal de compositeur.
Yeah. It's sad when, yeah, I imagine it was quite sad when Remy Gazelle died, but Rayman's Legacy 2025, the character created by Michel and his team single-handedly launched Ubisoft into the global game industry, has left a lasting legacy of creativity and childlike wonder. Let's watch this one.
C'est une création qui a permis à Ubisoft d'être reconnu dans le monde entier. Le jeu et la société ont pu être connus au Japon, aux États-Unis et dans tous les pays où la PlayStation a eu beaucoup de succès. Donc c'est vraiment le démarrage d'Ubisoft dans l'ensemble des pays au monde.
C'était ma première expérience de graphisme et surtout dans le vrai jeu vidéo professionnel. C'est une expérience fantastique, extraordinaire, avec tout ce que ça implique de moyens et de technologies différentes d'aujourd'hui. Un succès vraiment inattendu pour moi, en tout cas, en ce qui me concerne, et une présence encore aujourd'hui qui m'étonne, une présence dans les esprits autour de moi qui m'étonne encore, que ce soit aussi présent chez beaucoup de monde et un peu partout dans le monde.
À la sortie du jeu, j'achetais tous les magazines pour stocker toutes les reviews du jeu. Et donc, je découpais, je me suis fait un petit classeur et tout ça. Mais au bout d'un moment, c'était hallucinant parce que je récupérais les journaux français, mais il y en avait en Allemagne, il y en avait en Angleterre, il y en avait au Japon, il y en avait partout. Ça s'arrêtait plus, j'arrivais plus à suivre. Je me suis dit, laisse tomber, ça marche tellement bien. Enfin, tout le monde, toutes les reviews étaient dans le vert.
Alors nous, on faisait moi, je pense que Fred le faisait aussi, mais on allait dans les magasins et puis on regardait s'il y avait le jeu déjà qui était... parce que la fierté, bien sûr, c'est d'être édité, d'avoir son jeu qui est en rayon, en fait. Donc on allait à la FNAC, on prenait le jeu, puis s'il était un peu derrière, on le remettait devant pour que les gens, ils le voient.
Oui, Rayman a eu un succès, je pense, inattendu, espéré, mais peut-être pas attendu à ce point-là pour Ubisoft, parce que c'est vraiment Rayman qui a permis à Ubisoft d'acquérir cette dimension internationale. J'ai l'impression, moi je ne suis pas expert de ça, mais qu'il amenait une certaine fraîcheur qui était pas si fréquente à l'époque, un esprit un petit peu décalé, un petit peu quelque part entre le cartoon, avec des notions un peu écolo, etc. Enfin bon, un mélange une recette avec pas mal d'éléments qui finalement ont fait une mayonnaise qui a bien pris et une couleur qui était assez originale, qui était due, je pense, en grande partie à l'esprit de l'équipe aussi, qui était un petit peu débile, quoi.
Si ce jeu est unique, c'est parce qu'il a été fait dans des conditions qui étaient uniques et que, je pense, beaucoup de joueurs ont su capter ce feeling particulier.
C'est possible qu'on retrouve dans certains jeux des références.
Well, Beyond Good and Evil, certainly.
Il a apporté vraiment quelque chose d'assez original, ne serait-ce que dans la représentation des personnages. C'est un jeu aussi qui a montré, c'est un jeu qui a été malin en fait dans son développement, qui a réussi à contourner les contraintes techniques pour en faire finalement une vraie identité. Ce processus créatif-là a dû influencer aussi d'autres développeurs.
C'est un peu notre bébé entre tous les membres de l'équipe de l'époque. Et d'ailleurs, vraiment, des 150 personnes, je pense que les 150 sont encore très marqués par leur aventure Rayman, parce que c'était vraiment tout neuf pour tout le monde. Personne n'avait fait de jeux vidéo avant, en fait. Et effectivement, ceux qui jouent à Rayman maintenant n'étaient probablement pas nés quand on a créé Rayman au départ. Ça montre qu'il y a des valeurs humaines qui restent valables, quelle que soit l'époque.
Mais Michel, c'est une personnalité, c'est quelqu'un qui a su garder un esprit d'enfant. Sa joie de vivre se ressent à l'intérieur du jeu.
Je pense qu'il y a un double effet effectivement d'impact sur le succès de Rayman. Enfin, sur nous, c'est bien sûr que déjà on se dit on a atteint un peu notre rêve de faire des jeux, de faire des jeux vidéo de super niveau. On n'aurait jamais atteint, je pense, ce type de jeu, cette qualité sans les personnes qui ont contribué. C'est une évidence. On a appris aussi à partager nos connaissances. On a appris à travailler avec des artistes qui venaient du dessin animé, avec des codeurs qui venaient d'écoles d'ingénieurs. On a nous-mêmes voyagé en fait pendant le développement de ce jeu sur ce qu'on pensait être l'unique façon de faire des jeux vidéo et puis ce qui était une nouvelle façon de faire des jeux beaucoup plus collective au final.
Ce qui a été étonnant dans l'histoire de Rayman 1, en tout cas, ça a été la longévité de son succès. Mais qui s'est vraiment construit et amplifié. Voilà, il y a eu comme une espèce de truc. J'ai vu des gens, là, récemment encore, qui ont la trentaine, quarantaine, qui disent « Ah, mais moi, j'ai joué à Rayman quand j'adorais ça, toi, mais... » Toi, tu reçois ça, oui, 30 ans, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Oui, c'est ça, en fait. C'est chouette. Ça, c'est des feedbacks qui sont joyeux, quand même, ça fait du bien. Ça fait du bien parce que ça reflète aussi l'état d'esprit dans lequel ça a été fait. C'était pas de la douleur, c'était pas des choses difficiles. C'était du travail, beaucoup de travail, mais c'était pas de la douleur.
Yeah. Rayman turns 30, 2025. The little computer animated character created by teenage Michel Ancel celebrated its 30th anniversary in 2025. Here's to many more years of Rayman. Let's hope so. Assuming Ubisoft in the modern day doesn't balls it all up. Oh, well. Oh, apparently I can do my helicopter like that. Well, I didn't realise. I guess that's it. That's it for the history of Rayman, ladies and gentlemen. That was fun to actually go through. And yeah, you know, that means that will have been quite a huge video overall. But it's like I did with the Beyond Good and Evil 30th Anniversary Edition and all that. So, ladies and gentlemen, where now for this game? So, like I say, we're done with this now as a main series on the channel, so basically in the next couple of days we'll be going on to play another game, but because technically, you know, if we go here to the DOS version, you've got the Rayman's New Levels stuff, as well as Rayman by his fans, Rayman 60 levels, and all that. What that means is that I may well continue this as a bonus series on occasion, where I basically just play some of these additional levels. So this one, I think, Rayman's New Levels, 24 new levels for expert players created by the original design team. Yeah, this was made by Ubi. So I'm guessing potentially these might be very difficult, like the original levels, but then again, who knows? Maybe after the reception of the first one and realising how difficult the original was, maybe the original was, maybe they rescaled the difficulty in these ones. So yeah, we will do more basically of this game, because I want to see some of these custom levels that people have made. So, like by his fans, this was made with Rayman Designer, which was a version of Rayman 1 that had a level editor back in the day. Rayman 60 levels, created by Ubisoft designers, difficult levels, okay? Variety of difficulty levels. Okay, so some of these will be really tough, others won't be. At least you can use the enhancements on them though, so that'll be pretty good. Well, that's what you got to look forward to, maybe next time, ladies and gentlemen, so hope you all join me for that, for, you know, this series now going into occasional bonus territory. And hope you'll stick around for the game that I decide to play next after this as a main series. So, thinking I'm going to get back to some horror content on the channel, basically. Well, Rayman 30th Anniversary, you know, I had my ups and downs in that series. Definitely, the difficulty was very frustrating at times, but I'll be honest with you, as it said actually during that history section, there was something about it that hooked me. Despite the difficulty, despite the salt, despite the frustration, I did find myself constantly coming back to it, and that has to count for something, because I think I do really like the visuals. I think it is a very pretty game, and actually, you know, even though it's really freaking difficult, even though by all accounts Ubisoft did not intend originally to create such a difficult game, it's not that the game is bad. It's more that that's a reflection of my own subjective tastes in video gaming, to put it that way. So it is a good game, especially if you like really difficult stuff. It is worth playing. And like I say, you know, I'm glad that I did play it, because now I can say I've played the original Rayman, which is the one game in the series that, well, with the exclusion obviously of all the Rabbids games, but it's the one game in the series that I've never actually played. So it's good to finally come and actually done that and say, you know, now I can say I've actually played the OG Rayman. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll, you know, stick around on the channel for some more Rayman 30th Anniversary Edition on a more occasional basis as we take a look at some of these level packs for the DOS version. Other than that, my social media links are all down in the video description as usual, along with a link to my propagandist channel for anyone interested. And if you enjoyed, a like is of course always appreciated. But other than that, I'm going to sign off now. So, goodbye everybody. What does it all mean? Ladies and gentlemen, what does it all mean? See? No, you're the cat. You're a demon cat. Okay, I got it. You're doing the old Doki Doki Little thing of having text that makes no sense. He says the same thing, doesn't he? Okay, see ya. See ya, Catman. Demon cat. I'm out of here. Just take that cone out while I can.